Chapter 509. Firmament. Tsing Hui did not dare to delay when he arrived at the firmament realm. It could be said that he traveled as fast as lightning. Unfortunately, his authority had been taken away by Firmament Master, Reverend Zhu Zhao, Reverend Zhangzhen, and the others. He could not appear outside Firmament Master's courtyard by traveling through space. Otherwise, he would not have to use such a troublesome method like flying. He quickly flew through the air on his sword, but by the time Qing Su actually arrived at the mountain where the Firmament Master resided, quite a lot of time had still passed. Coupled with the fact that he did not possess the right to meet the Firmament Master directly, he could only report to the Firmament Master through the disciple guarding the mountain and ask to see him. At this moment, Firmament Master was chatting with Reverend Purple Xiao and Reverend Wu Fa. The two reverends did not have a high level of chaos. However, Purple Xiao was proficient in the resurrection spell while Reverend Wu Fa had a higher level of luck. Although they had not reached the maximum level, they could be of great use in the battle of chaos. At critical moments, they could produce miraculous effects. Therefore, the two of them were members of the first echelon in the battle of chaos. Master, His Excellency Pak Hui, a high-level member, is outside. He wants to see you about something important. Firmament Master was discussing with Reverend Wu Fa whether he could raise his level 8 luck to level 10. His disciple, Hunyuan, who had stopped Tsing Hui earlier, had already reported to him outside the door. He had interrupted Tsing Hui's conversation with the two reverends because Tsing Hui had made the matter sound too serious. He had no choice but to treat it seriously. Pak Hui. Firmament Master was slightly stunned. Is it that boy from Eastern Wilderness? Reverend Purple Xiao clearly remembered Pak Hui. He's the son of chaos I recommended. I still remember him. However, I heard from Sister Li that there's something wrong with Pak Hui not long ago. This isn't very likely, right? This matter is complicated. In fact, I've been investigating him based on the information I received recently. I even asked the Pavilion Master of the Divine Secret Pavilion to divine his origin. However, the divination failed. You should know that before I asked the Pavilion Master of the Divine Secret Pavilion to divine his origin, I've prepared a lot of information. I've provided his identity in Eastern Wilderness. You've provided all the information about the Eastern Wilderness? Reverend Purple Sky was slightly taken aback. Even with such detailed information, the deduction still failed. How was this possible? Could it be that his primal chaos level is much higher than the Pavilion of Divinations? According to my investigation, he had been to the Fortune mainland once. There is a supreme immortal technique called the reversal of yin and yang. You should have heard of it before. It has an inconceivable effect on blocking the deductions of others. But because it is too difficult to cultivate, even though it has been passed down in large chaos organizations like us, no one has learned it. Even those who have entered the sect are few and far between. I've seen the yin-yang reversal immortal technique before. It's not something that humans can cultivate. Wu Fa Daoist interjected with a smile. It seems that he has a high compatibility with the yin-yang reversal immortal technique. Reverend, have you studied it in detail back then? Wu Fa Daoist nodded. Back then, I was quite curious about the Fortune mainland and investigated it. In the end, I discovered that the immortal techniques on the Fortune mainland were just minor daos. Even the so-called one chi into three pure ones, reversal of yin and yang, instant blooming flower, and other sect-guarding immortal techniques were not worth mentioning. Moreover, it was extremely time-consuming to cultivate them. Instead of using the time to cultivate these immortal techniques, it was better to polish one's divine ability and break through to a higher realm. As for the divine object on the Fortune mainland, it was also somewhat useless. It required a whole 1,000 Dao rhymes to activate it, but it only made it easier for people to cultivate these minor techniques. With these Dao rhymes, it was better to raise one's primal chaos level or by some precious resources. Venerable Master Firmament nodded his head and said with a smile, I've also learned an immortal technique from the Fortune mainland called Magic Arsenal. It's a pity that I've only been able to create 5th or 6th grade spiritual objects. What can spiritual objects of this grade be used for? Wufa Daoist and Purple Sky Reverend nodded. Not to mention Venerable Firmament, who was an invincible giant, even with their cultivation bases, they could kill a large number of Venerable Firmament and Venerable Firmament with one divine ability, let alone Venerable Firmament and Venerable Firmament. Such an immortal technique was indeed of little value. It's a little off topic. The fact that we can't deduce Pak Hui's identity is one of the problems. As for the other things, we've investigated more or less, and there's nothing suspicious. Reverend Firmament said. It's good that there are no other problems. Otherwise, it would be my fault if I recommended someone whose identity was lost to us, Reverend Firmament said. Reverend Purple Shao said and then added in doubt, his identity can't be deduced. Since it's the effect of the yin-yang reversal immortal technique, and you've already investigated the other aspects, why haven't you announced this matter yet? This matter, Reverend Firmament hesitated for a moment and shook his head. This matter is a little complicated. If there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity, then there was no doubt that there was a problem with Savage Sword's identity. However, Reverend Zhuzhao treated Savage Sword as if he was his own son and junior, and he was deeply attached to him. Before investigating this matter thoroughly, Reverend Firmament really did not know how to face Reverend Zhuzhao. Therefore, after confirming that there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity half a year ago, Reverend Firmament quietly put this matter aside and focused on Savage Sword. It was not easy for Reverend Firmament to conclude that there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity, so he could only focus on investigating Savage Sword. If there was no problem with Savage Sword, it would prove that there was a misunderstanding between them, or that he was used by the Heavenly Tao. This would be the best result. But if not, if Savage Sword was proven to have betrayed Firmament and joined the Heavenly Tao, Reverend Firmament would have enough evidence to convince Reverend Zhuzhao. Alright, since Pak Hui is here and said that he has something important to say, then let him in. As Reverend Firmament spoke, his gaze swept across, as if piercing through the void, and landed on Tsing Hui, who was full of anxiety outside the mountain peak. Then, with a wave of his hand, Tsing Hui's figure appeared in front of Reverend Firmament. Savage Sword is actually willing to abandon the Lihan Heaven realm. Tsing Hui, who was trapped in the Lihan Heaven realm, watched Savage Sword leave on his sword and disappear into the horizon in the blink of an eye. He was a little surprised. However, after a while, he thought of something. This Lihan Heaven realm is a hot potato. It's the signature treasure of the Lihan Holy Man. Whoever takes it will have to face the wrath of the Lihan Holy Man, but, so what? Tsing Hui slashed out with the scarlet sword in his hand, and the dazzling sword radiance quickly exploded on the energy light screen formed by the Lihan Heaven realm, bursting layer by layer. When the Lihan Heaven realm was controlled by someone and when it was not, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. When Savage Sword was in control of the Lihan Heaven realm, Tsing Hui was trapped, unable to enter and leave, and helpless. Now that Savage Sword had left, the Lihan Heaven realm was an ownerless object, and Tsing Hui used less than 10 breaths to break through the Lihan Heaven realm. With a wave of his hand, the light screen of the Lihan Heaven realm dissipated, and finally turned into a crystal Rubik's Cube-like object that fell into Tsing Hui's hand. This is the Lihan Heaven realm. Tsing Hui glanced at the Lihan Heaven realm. With this treasure, trapping and killing enemies would be a success. Regardless of whether the other party had incarnation techniques or teleportation techniques, once trapped in the Lihan Heaven realm, they would become a prisoner. Just as he was about to continue looking at the Lihan Heaven realm, Tsing Hui's heart skipped a beat, as if he had sensed something. He then frowned and said, "Is the Firmament Master finally willing to see me?" Calculating the time, from the time he split a part of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple, to the Firmament Master, and then from the Firmament Master to the mountain peak where the Firmament Master was, it took a total of more than 40 breaths, which was more than 2 minutes. Outside the Firmament Master's mountain peak, he waited for another 40 breaths, which was another 2 to 3 minutes. In total, it took him 5 minutes to see the Firmament Master's true appearance. By this time, Savage Sword had escaped without a trace. What a waste of a chance to capture Savage Sword alive. Tsing Hui sighed and clapped his hand. Suddenly, a circle of invisible ripples spread in all directions, quickly sweeping across a radius of tens of kilometers. Supreme Immortal Technique, Reversal of Yin and Yang. He used this immortal technique to completely erase any tricks that Savage Sword might have left behind, so as to prevent the Lihan Holy Man from teleporting to this area and directly attacking him in order to take back the Lihan Heaven Realm. After doing all this, he put the Lihan Heaven Realm into his personal space. When his original body returned to the Hidden Sword sect, he projected his consciousness into the Chaos Temple, following the Firmament Master's teleportation technique, and appeared in the Firmament Master's courtyard. Master. Since Savage Sword had escaped, Tsing Hui's desire to see the Firmament Master was no longer as urgent as before. After bowing to the Firmament Master, he nodded at the Purple Sky Priest and said, "Greetings, Spiritual Master. Pak Hui, you're in a hurry to see me, saying that you have something important to tell me? May I know what happened?" Tsing Hui did not beat around the bush and said directly, "I have something to send over. You'll know when you see it. Can you give me the nearest coordinates?" Oh. The Firmament Master knew that Tsing Hui's chaos level was extremely high, so he did not doubt this point. After pondering for a while, he nodded at his disciple. The disciple who was responsible for reporting Tsing Hui's arrival immediately stepped forward and handed a spiritual imprint to Tsing Hui. "Please wait for a moment, Master." After receiving the spiritual imprint, Tsing Hui's figure dissipated. His original body, which was heading to the Hidden Sword sect, took out the spiritual imprint and activated the incarnation technique. A trace of consciousness was directly projected into the void tens of millions of kilometers away. Not long after, it appeared outside a magnificent palace. Tsing Hui's location was outside the palace, which could be considered magnificent. For safety's sake, this time he only sent down the most ordinary incarnation. "Don't resist." Before Tsing Hui could take a closer look at what was so special about this palace, a voice echoed in Tsing Hui's ears. Then, layers of spatial ripples appeared in front of him. Tsing Hui, who had a rank 10 personal space, could naturally recognize that this should be the Firmament Master's Sky Dome Realm gate. After being taken into the Sky Dome Realm by the Firmament Master, the space around him changed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the Firmament Master's courtyard, which he had appeared in with the help of the Chaos Shrine not long ago. It looked almost the same as before. The only difference was that when he appeared in the Sky Dome Realm previously, he had only used the power of the Chaos Shrine to create a physical body. Now, the one who came was his incarnation. If he wanted to, he could use the teleportation technique to teleport out of the palace at any time. "You actually sent your incarnation here. It seems like the matter is not small. Alright, you can speak now." The Firmament Master looked at Tsing Hui and said seriously. Purple Shao Spiritual Master and Wu Fa Spiritual Master were also slightly curious. This was especially so for Purple Shao Spiritual Master. She clearly did not expect that the young man, whom she had personally assessed, would actually become so impressive in less than 10 years. Tsing Hui did not keep them in suspense. He immediately took out the image recording stone and said, "Master, you will know after you see the images recorded in this image recording stone." Chapter 510. Oh, a shadow recording stone. The Firmament Master took the shadow recording stone and probed it with his mind. After a while, his expression changed, as expected. "If the Venerable Master still has any doubts about the message I recorded, you might as well contact the sword wielder directly. I believe that he, who has long been prepared to betray our Celestial Dome Empire, probably has the means to avoid being killed by the sword wielder. Now, even if the sword wielder personally makes a move, I'm afraid he won't be able to lock onto his position." Tsing Hui added. The firmament master looked serious. He glanced at Xing Hui and did not dare to be negligent. Wait for me here for a while. I have to verify this with the sword wielder. After he finished speaking, his body shuttled and disappeared in front of them. What happened? Something big seems to have happened. Betraying the firmament master. Could it be that there is a traitor in the firmament master? A traitor who is worthy of the sword wielder attacking him personally would not be weak. The Purple Shao spiritual master and Wufa spiritual master were curious as they watched the firmament master leave with a solemn expression. Pak Hui. What did you show the firmament master just now? The Purple Shao spiritual master asked. Qing Su glanced at the Purple Sky Reverend. Earlier, the Sky Reverend, Reverend Zhu Zhao, and the others had considered the fact that they did not know who was the true chess piece of the heavenly ways, so in order to protect their reputation, they did not tell anyone about the two of them. Even core members like the Purple Sky Reverend and Reverend Wufa were no exception. But now, the fact that Zhang Jian had betrayed the celestial domain was already set in stone. It could not be changed. He believed that the celestial domain master would announce this news to the outside world before long, so Qing Su did not hide anything. I showed the celestial domain master a shadow recording stone. It was a shadow recording stone that recorded how Zhang Jian used the hatred holy man's famed treasure to kill me. The firmament master. The Purple Shao spiritual master was slightly stunned. On the other hand, Wu Fa smiled and said, Bai Su, you're joking, right? Why did Broken Sword attack you? He is the disciple of Zhu Zhao Venerable, and you, if I remember correctly, can be considered as half a disciple of Zhu Zhao Venerable. The two of you should belong to the same sect, how could you kill each other? Moreover, Savage Sword is a powerful being, and you, it is said that you have only been in the Sky Vault for less than 10 years. That is to say, you were only in the spirit refining realm 10 years ago. If Broken Sword wants to deal with you, he shouldn't need to use too many methods, right? After he finished speaking, he seemed to realize something and added, I don't mean to look down on you. I just feel that this piece of news is a little unbelievable, especially since the Lihan holy man's famous treasure, the Lihan heaven world, has appeared. On the other hand, Reverend Purple Sky seemed to have thought of something when he thought of the brief conversation between Xing Hui and Master Zhang Qiong. He said in a low voice, Pak Hui, the traitor you mentioned just now, could it be Master Zhu Zhao's personal disciple? Broken Sword? Xing Hui glanced at Reverend Purple Sky and Reverend Wufa, who obviously didn't believe him. He didn't want to explain too much. I'm afraid that the Firmament Master will soon finish his investigation. When the time comes, you will naturally know. Could it be? Reverend Wufa opened his mouth and was about to say something. However, at this moment, a ripple flashed across the void. Reverend Song Zhen and Master Zhu Zhao appeared in the courtyard at the same time. Bai Qi and Dark Phoenix also appeared together with Reverend Song Zhen and Master Zhu Zhao. These people were the core figures of Master Zhang Qiong who happened to be in the firmament realm. What happened? I don't know. Master Zhu Zhao sent me a message and said that he had something important to discuss with me. After he got my permission, he sent me here directly. I also feel strange. What about you guys? Did you get any news in advance? I don't know either. We can only wait and see what Master Zhang Qiong says. Reverend Song Zhen replied. His gaze fell on Xing Hui immediately. Why are you here? Well, I haven't seen you for a long time. On the other hand, Master Zhu Zhao's mental state had obviously withered a lot compared to 2 years ago. He glanced at Xing Hui and did not say anything. He just remained silent. Obviously, after 2 years, he should have found something. However, he was unwilling to face reality because he had not obtained any conclusive evidence. When Reverend Purple Shao and Reverend Wufa saw this scene, they could not help but feel shocked. Master Zhu Zhao's direct disciple, Savage Sword, could not have really betrayed Master Zhang Qiong, right? Whoosh! Not long after the 4 core experts of Master Tsongzhen appeared, a ripple flashed across the void. Master Tsongqiong also appeared at the peak of the mountain. The entire firmament realm belonged to him. In this world, he was like a divine king, possessing supreme and mighty power. It was not difficult for him to send a few people or travel through void. Even running from one end of the world to the other end and traveling a distance of 10 million kilometers was just a thought to him. Master Tsongqiong, why did you call us here? As soon as Master Tsongqiong appeared, Bai Qi and Xian Huang could not wait to ask. However, Master Tsongqiong did not reply. Instead, he handed the image recording stone that Xing Hui had handed to him to Master Zhuzhao. Master Zhuzhao, who already had a faint premonition, suddenly trembled when he saw the image recording stone handed to him by Master Tsongqiong. However, he still reached out to take the image recording stone without hesitation and split his mind to check it. Wu Fa, Purple Xiao, Bai Qi, Xian Huang, and the others seemed to have sensed the emotions of Master Tsongqiong and Master Zhuzhao, who were at the peak of Master Tsongqiong, so they did not speak anymore. They all quieted down and waited for the 2 masters to speak. Buzz. After checking the image recording stone for a moment, the aura on Master Zhuzhao's body suddenly became chaotic. A terrifying aura that was as vast as an abyss erupted from his body. In an instant, everyone present felt as if they were carrying a majestic divine mountain on their minds. Their thoughts were almost frozen by this terrifying power. Among them, the eyes of Master Tsongqiong's disciple, who was only at the gold core realm, became unfocused. There was a hint of dullness in his eyes. Master Tsongqiong, on the other hand, sensed the abnormality. He waved his hand, and the terrifying pressure that almost caused people's minds to freeze completely dissipated. However, even so, no one present could remain calm. Their eyes immediately landed on the image recording stone in Master Zhuzhao's hand. They were all very surprised. What exactly was recorded on the image recording stone that could make Master Zhuzhao, who was at the divine stage, lose his composure and even lose control of his own power? If this kind of thing happened at a critical moment when Master Zhuzhao was cultivating or his realm was unstable, it was enough to make the energy in his body go berserk, and he would explode and die. I've already checked with the sword-bearer. The sword-bearer can sense his aura, but he can't pinpoint his specific location. It's as if someone has used a supreme method to conceal it. At present, the sword-bearer is trying to find a way to penetrate this layer of interference and pinpoint his exact location. Master Tsongqiong estimated that Master Zhuzhao had finished watching the scene in the image recording stone, so he said in a deep voice. Could it be, Master Tsongzhen, who was at the side, also guessed something at this time? His eyes fell on Master Tsongqiong. Master Tsongqiong nodded solemnly. Let me see. Master Tsongzhen stretched out his hand and said to Master Zhuzhao. Master Zhuzhao gave the image recording stone to Tsongzhen and closed his eyes. His whole body was trembling slightly, and a trace of uncontrollable pain appeared on his face. Seeing this scene, Xing Hui knew very well what kind of blow Master Zhuzhao would face after hearing this news. However, a short pain was better than a long pain. If he hid the news of broken sword because he couldn't bear to see esteemed Zhuzhao suffer such a blow, then he would be irresponsible to esteemed Zhuzhao and even the entire Tianqiong domain. It would be a good thing to let esteemed Zhuzhao see broken sword's true colors as soon as possible. After all, esteemed Zhuzhao's few disciples were not only broken sword but also Yulan, so he hadn't lost all hope. Damn it! He actually... Master Tsongzhen looked at it for a moment and could not help but curse, to think that I still somewhat believed him at that time. I didn't expect him to actually, Master, what information is recorded on this image recording stone? Can we also take a look? Master Wufa, who was at the side, asked in a low voice. Master Tsongzhen paused for a moment while holding the image recording stone, but he still handed it to Master Wufa. The evidence is conclusive. I'll let you know sooner or later. Take a look. Master Wufa took the image recording stone. Immediately, Master Purple Sky, Master Black Phoenix, Master Bai Chi, and the others surrounded it. How is this possible? Broken sword. How could he betray Celestial Vault? Why does he have the famous treasure of the Lihan Holy Man, the Lihan Heavenly Realm? Waves of suppressed exclamations quickly came from the mouths of several people. Master Tsangzhen ignored the exclamations of several people after watching the image recording stone. Instead, he turned to Master Zhuzhao and said, "Half a year ago, after I couldn't find out what was wrong with Pak Hui, I turned my attention to Broken Sword. At first, I didn't find anything, but when I turned my attention to the information provided by Tsing Hui and the Lihan Holy Man, I caught some useful clues. Following these clues, I investigated all the way and have already found something. I understand now." Before Firmament Master could finish his words, Zhuzhao Sage had already interrupted him. He said in a low voice, "In fact, in the past 2 years, although I didn't spend too much time investigating this matter, I still found a lot of suspicious points. But I chose to ignore many suspicious points because of my own subjectivity. Now, it seems that if I had put those suspicious points together and asked the head of the Divine Secret Pavilion to make a deduction, Broken Sword's identity would have been revealed long ago. It's just that I still have a trace of unrealistic hope in my heart and deceive myself. I've been using the fact that I don't have concrete evidence to evade the truth, that's why I didn't want to face the reality." Master Zhuzhao sighed when he heard what Master Zhuzhao said. He didn't know how to persuade him. At this moment, esteemed Zhuzhao opened his eyes. There was a trace of pain in his eyes, but more than that, there was coldness. "Firmament, you don't have to care about my position. We, Firmament, will deal with him the same way we deal with a traitor. Even if you and the Sword-Bearer don't do anything, I'll do it myself and take back everything that I've given him all these years." Chapter 5:11. I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Esteemed Zhu Zhao expressed his attitude clearly and said in low spirits. Then, his figure flashed, and he disappeared in front of everyone. Zhu Zhao, Zhangzhen Venerable opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Firmament Venerable Master. "Let him have some time alone. It's not good for us to disturb him at this time. Zhu Zhao has been through a lot in these years. I believe he can walk out of this." Zhangzhen Venerable Master nodded. However, when he thought of the many knots that his disciples left in his heart, he could not help but sigh. He was afraid that from now on, esteemed Zhu Zhao would be like him, unwilling to accept any disciple to inherit his mantle. Savage Sword is very familiar with the distribution of our people, resource points, and footholds in Firmament Venerable Master. We need to rearrange many areas, especially some key areas. We need to pay attention to prevent them from being destroyed one by one. Firmament Venerable Master gradually got to the point. "That's right. Besides, I think we should gather the team to fight against the chaos. You should know that not every son of chaos has the cultivation base to ensure his safety." Zhangzhen Venerable Master deliberately mentioned this, and then his gaze fell on Tsing Hui. "I think the reason why Savage Sword has been targeting Pak Hui as his main target is because his chaos level is not proportional to his cultivation base. It's the easiest to deal with him." Tsing Hui heard Zhangzhen Venerable Master's words and nodded slightly. "The main reason why Savage Sword targeted me is that my cultivation base is too weak, and my chaos level is causing trouble." "Chaos level," Firmament Venerable Master frowned. "Pak Hui, your chaos level is not low, but it's not enough for Savage Sword to expose such a high-level chess piece. He obviously underestimated Pak Hui." Zhangzhen Venerable Master said, "Savage Sword thought that as long as he attacked, Pak Hui's life and death would be in his control. He did not consider that his plan might fail and be exposed, which led to a series of wrong decisions and his eventual exposure." Hearing this, the Firmament Master pondered for a moment before nodding his head slightly in agreement. "That's possible. Actually, Xing Hui opened his mouth. All this time, he had been hesitating whether he should tell Master Tsongzhen and Master Tsongzhen about his chaos level, but now, the broken sword had been defeated by Lin Feng and the chaotic grade had been taken away by him. Next, he would definitely think of a way to deal with the Lihan holy man. He might even persuade the Lihan holy man to deal with him. After all, the Lihan heavenly world that the Lihan holy man was famous for was in his hands. If the Lihan holy man were to personally descend to deal with him, he would not be able to match up to the Lihan holy man. At this point, he could only rely on the power of the heavens to ensure his own safety. In that case, it was imperative that he inform the sages of his true chaotic powers and obtain their cooperation and protection. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated and directly transmitted his voice to the two masters. Actually, the reason why Remnant Sword targeted me was because of my primal chaos level. Master Tsongzhen and Master Tsongzhen turned their gazes towards Xing Hui in astonishment. Although your chaotic grade has reached the 29th level, but you don't need to risk such an important pawn like Remnant Sword, Xing Hui met the gazes of the two masters and said seriously, the 29th level may not be enough. Then, what about the 40th level? The 40th level? Master Tsongzhen and Master Tsongzhen were stunned for a moment before their expressions changed. Xing Hui, what did you say? The 40th level? Say it clearly, what 40th level? Evidently, they were so agitated that they even called out Xing Hui's name in the real world. From this point, it could be seen that Master Tsongzhen and Master Tsongzhen already had information about him. If he really wanted to hide his chaotic grade, he would not be able to hide it for long. It's the 40th level that you guessed. Xing Hui looked at Master Tsongzhen and Master Tsongzhen and said slowly, if you investigate carefully, you'll know that I've been active in the East Continent, Chongzhen Continent, Hidden Sword Continent, and many other continents. I've obtained a large number of Daoist items. In addition, I've obtained a godly item, which allowed me to accumulate Daoist essence rapidly. Therefore, my chaotic grade is no longer the 29th level that I told you a few years ago. It's now the 40th level. The 40th level? The 40th level Son of Chaos? Yes. The special feature of the 40th level is called the backtracking technique. 2 years ago, I was able to escape from Remnant Sword because of the backtracking technique. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I would have been tortured by Remnant Sword and handed over all my secrets and treasures. Remnant Sword guessed my chaotic grade because I used the backtracking technique. That's why he kept his eyes on me and chased after me as soon as he sensed my whereabouts. That's why you saw the scene in the image-retaining stone. The Lihan Heaven Realm. Master Tsongzhen took a deep breath and said, no wonder Remnant Sword did not hesitate to borrow treasures like the Lihan Heaven Realm to deal with you. The Lihan Heaven Realm was to prevent you from escaping using the special teleportation technique that was derived from the 30th level chaotic grade. Not only the teleportation technique, but also the incarnation technique. After my chaotic grade increased, I gained an immortal body. If he can't control my incarnation technique, as long as I still have a trace of vitality left, I can still be reborn from a drop of blood and he can't capture me. The 40th level. A 40th level Son of Chaos. No wonder. Master Tsongzhen murmured. At the same time, he also understood why Xing Hui wanted to communicate with them through voice transmission. Immediately, he glanced at Zi Xiao, Wu Fa, Bai Qi, and Xian Huang, and said, everyone, you already understand that the personal disciple of Master Zhu Zhao, Broken Sword, has betrayed Tianqiong. He has a lot of crucial information about Tianqiong in his hands, including the location of some powerful people and even the higher-level experts in the chaotic realm in the real world. I'll give you a mission. Pass the news to them immediately and get them to move as fast as possible, so as to avoid becoming the target of heavenly axiom and damaging our strength. Yes. Wu Fa, Zi Xiao, Bai Qi, and Xian Huang responded at the same time. They naturally knew the seriousness of the problem Master Tsongzhen was facing. Go quickly. Master Tsongzhen said. The immortals did not stay any longer. They traveled through the void and quickly left the mountain. They either contacted other members or left the Chaos Temple directly to do as they were told. Oh no! Remnant Sword knows that Xing Hui's chaotic grade has reached the 40th level, so he naturally understands the threat he will pose to the chaos. Especially when Xing Hui is still extremely weak, he will definitely try to kill Xing Hui to ensure that nothing goes wrong. In this way, Xing Hui's situation will be extremely dangerous. I understand that. However, with the teleportation technique, my situation may not be as bad as everyone imagines. It's not as if I don't have the ability to protect myself. The ability to protect yourself? You mean the backtracking skill? The greatest effect of the backtracking skill is that it is unexpected. Once someone sees through your backtracking skill and targets it, this characteristic will not be as powerful as you think. Therefore, those experts above the 40th level of chaotic grade will usually only spend 1 or 2 levels on this characteristic. Master Songjin said. Xing Hui seemed to have heard something and suddenly said, could it be that there are many sons of chaos above the 40th level in the divine wilderness? Master Songjin glanced at Xing Hui. Considering the fact that Xing Hui was a son of chaos at the 40th level, he did not hide it from him. It's not the 40th level. To be specific, it's the 44th level. Among the top 10 chaos organizations, other than the Temple of Saints and the Crimson Wings, the other 8 have a son of chaos at the 44th level. Among them, there may be 2 sons of chaos at this level in the Heavenly Tao, Divine Wilderness, and Eternal. As for why they are both at the 44th level, it's similar to the 29th level of chaotic grade. Xing Hui immediately understood. This was because after the 44th level of chaotic grade, the Chaos Treasure Pavilion would deduct not only 1 Dao Aura per day, but 2 Dao Auras per day. In a year, it would be 730 Dao Auras. And 730 Dao Auras, this was definitely an astronomical number. It must be known that even the Hidden Sword Venerable, who sat on the entire Hidden Sword mainland, could only obtain a mere 200 Dao Auras per year. This number was not enough to cover the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 30th level of chaotic grade. The Hidden Sword mainland had always been famous for its rich production of Dao Auras. Among the many continents in the Divine Wilderness, it could be ranked in the top 30. The top 30 continents only produced a little over 200 Dao Auras per year. From this, one could see how difficult it was to obtain Dao Auras. Although the Celestial Vault, Sword Shadow, Grand Supreme, All Saints Palace, Crimson Wings, Heavenly Tao, Divine Wilderness, Eternal, and other chaos organizations were all supreme giants with their influence spread across every corner of the world, it was still not easy to support the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 45th level of chaotic grade. Above the 30th level, a Son of Chaos with a deduction of 365 Dao Auras per year was the limit they could accept. Xing Hui estimated that the Dao Auras produced by the countless continents in the Divine Wilderness would be around 15,000. Of these 15,000 Dao Auras, 4,000 would be digested by ordinary Sons of Chaos and small chaos organizations. Similar to the large forces and powerful experts of the various continents, the First Hall, the 3 sects, the 6 religions, and the 9 gates would be given another 3,000. The remaining 8,000 would be given to the 10 great chaos organizations. According to the strength of the 10 great chaos organizations, the number of Dao Auras they could obtain was also different. The Celestial Vault, which was on the weaker side, would only be able to obtain 600 Dao Auras per year. How could this number support the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 45th level of chaotic grade? What's the level of the first echelon in the Celestial Vault preparing for the War of Chaos? Xing Hui once again asked the question he was most concerned about. I've told you this number before. It's 27th level. However, since the Venerable Zhu Zhao is a Son of Chaos at the 44th level, it can reach 29th level on average. As the Venerable Zhu Zhao spoke, he seemed to have seen through Xing Hui's doubts. He smiled and said, in the War of Chaos, the higher your chaos level is, the better. The higher your chaos level, the more advantage you have. You can even monopolize a variable. However, in the war of chaos, which is similar to the war of chaos between groups, what relies on is the cooperation between each group. Chapter 5:12. Xing Hui thought of the various troubles and changes that he and Broken Sword had encountered in the War of Chaos, and nodded in agreement. In the War of Chaos, it was often difficult to use self-beneficial characteristics, such as recovery characteristics, divine skills, backtracking skills, and so on. However, characteristics that were beneficial to humans could almost determine the final outcome of the War of Chaos, such as the divine protection skill, the advancement skill, the resurrection skill, and so on. In addition, there was the deduction skill. Xing Hui felt that the most important thing in the War of Chaos was the deduction skill. The advantage of having the deduction skill was too great. Well, Xing Hui, according to our investigation, you should be in the Hidden Sword Continent now, right? The Hidden Sword Continent is not far from here, only 9 million kilometers. If you are fast, it won't take much time. I will send someone to pick you up and bring you to the headquarters of Heaven Vault in the Divine Wilderness. Heaven Vault Master said solemnly. Halfway through, he seemed to have thought of something. By the way, if I remember correctly, you should have the Incarnation skill, and have a 10th order personal space. You can use the Incarnation skill to bring your original body to Infinite Wasteland, which saves us the step of making a trip to the Hidden Sword Continent. This. A trace of hesitation flashed across Xing Hui's eyes. Thinking of Hidden Sword Venerable's kindness and related instructions, he could not help but sigh. I'm afraid I can't come back in a short period of time. Can't come back? Why? Your cultivation is still weak, and the outside world is too dangerous for you. It's best to come back as soon as possible. Heaven Vault Master said. Hidden Sword Venerable glanced at Xing Hui. Are you worried that there is a spy in Heaven Vault Master? Don't worry, we will make arrangements for you. Before the war of Heaven Vault Master and Heaven Vault Master is decided, we will not easily expose your identity. Hidden Sword Venerable has something to do on Infinite Wasteland, and I was entrusted by Hidden Sword Venerable to look after the Hidden Sword sect for him. As for the time, it will take at least 2 to 3 months, and at most half a year. During this time, it is really inconvenient for me to abandon the Hidden Sword sect. Hidden Sword sect. I've heard of the Hidden Sword Honorable and the Hidden Sword sect. It's a continent with a high production of Taoist aura. There are many people who have their eyes on this continent. If we, the Heaven Dome sect, send a powerful figure to protect the Hidden Sword sect for you, we'll be breaking the rules. By then, the Way of Heaven, which already has no excuse to deal with us, will definitely send a large number of masters to the Hidden Sword Continent without mercy. By then, the entire Hidden Sword Continent will become a battlefield, the final battle between the Heaven Dome sect and the Way of Heaven. Isn't Broken Sword a powerful being? Why would he? The Broken Sword is different. Before Xing Hui finished speaking, Hidden Truth esteemed cultivator had already explained, you're not from the Hidden Sword Continent, and Broken Sword's target is only you. He did not attack the Hidden Sword sect, so this is not a violation of the rules. Furthermore, the world only knows that Broken Sword is from the Heaven Dome sect. At present, the news of his betrayal has not been made public. If we go to the Hidden Sword sect with Broken Sword sect as the reason, I'm afraid the world will think that the Heaven Dome sect is directing and acting for the Hidden Sword Continent. Why is Hidden Sword Venerable not guarding the Hidden Sword Continent but going to Infinite Wasteland? Xing Hui, why don't you contact Hidden Sword Venerable? If it's not something important, the Heaven Dome sect is willing to do it for him. I'll contact Hidden Sword Venerable then. Xing Hui nodded. He already felt that there was something wrong with Hidden Sword Venerable's trip to Infinite Wasteland. It would be best if the Heaven Dome sect was willing to intervene. As one of the 10 great chaotic organizations, the Heaven Dome sect's combat strength was not inferior to that of the One Hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates. In particular, they had recently recruited many Golden Core realm cultivators and strengthened their core strength. As long as they did not go against the forces of the 10 great chaotic organizations, they would not be afraid of the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates. In fact, the main danger that Xing Hui faces now is the Lihan Holy Man. Since the Lihan Holy Man has lost the Lihan Heaven realm, if Xing Hui wants to escape, he may not be able to capture him. Therefore, Xing Hui's safety is not guaranteed. At this time, the Heaven Dome sect seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to let him come to our side." Qing Su looked at the 2 aboriginals and understood that they were concerned about his safety. He immediately said, "Don't worry, aboriginals. Actually, the situation isn't as bad as you imagine it to be. In the past, it was indeed possible for me to be trapped to death by the enemy, but now, that might not necessarily be the case. Even if they use a supreme treasure similar to the Grief Heaven world to trap me, I can still use teleportation techniques to escape." Teleportation technique? The teleportation technique is not omnipotent. Take the Lihan Heaven realm as an example. Once you are trapped by the Lihan Heaven realm and use the teleportation technique, the only outcome is to be trapped in a space mezzanine. Once you are trapped in a space mezzanine, unless a vacuum-shattering realm expert breaks the space mezzanine and escapes, you will die. Not necessarily. Xing Hui said. I remember that there is an item called the Heavenly Grotto Stone. If a cultivator is strong enough, he can draw out the power within and unleash a blow that can shatter the vacuum. With this item, he can naturally escape from the space mezzanine safely. Even with the power of the Heavenly Grotto Stone, you have to have the battle strength of the Saint Realm. Otherwise, the power of that blow will not be able to shatter the vacuum and allow you to escape from the space mezzanine. Moreover, do you think that the space mezzanine is that easy to survive without the protection of a domain? Hidden Truth Master shook his head. Xing Hui smiled. Domain? He did not. However, the Lihan Heaven realm could protect him for a while in the space mezzanine. After all, the Lihan Heaven realm smelted a large number of dust-repelling stones. As for the battle strength of the Saint Realm, he believed that with the power of the divine art, his attack strength would not be inferior to any Saint Realm expert. If one day, his golden core could give birth to a divine art, without the power of the divine art, he could still shatter the vacuum with the help of the Heavenly Grotto Stone. I'll discuss with the Hidden Sword Venerable first before making a final decision. Xing Hui said. Yes, it's best if you can persuade the Hidden Sword Venerable to return. Once he returns, he will take care of the Hidden Sword sect himself. Naturally, you don't have to stay there anymore. When the time comes, you can come directly to our place or find a hidden continent to hide. Anyway, your personal space has already reached the 10th level, and the level of your incarnation technique is not low. It's very convenient for you to go back and forth. I also hope that I can persuade him to return. At this point, Xing Hui considered the impact of his 40th level Son of Chaos and the possible consequences of Tiandao's full attention on him. He said slowly, Venerable Master, I have a supreme divine item with me. This divine item is the key to my ability to raise the level of chaos to the 40th level in a short time. Now, I hope to use this supreme divine item to cooperate with the 2 venerables, or rather, Tianqiong. Supreme divine item? When Tianqiong Master heard Xing Hui mention this item, he did not look too surprised. Instead, after exchanging a glance with Zhangzhen Venerable Master, they both revealed a smile at the same time. Seeing this scene, Xing Hui immediately guessed, it seems that Tianqiong Master has already found out something. Bei Zhao's supreme divine item. That divine item. I have indeed heard of it. It is said that Bei Zhao was killed because of this supreme divine item. We will investigate this matter sooner or later. If we find out who the culprit behind this is, the entire sky vault of heaven will definitely not let this matter rest. Zhangzhen Venerable Master said in a deep voice. Xing Hui did not reply. Bei Xiao was an almighty who had cultivated divine sense, and his status in Tianqiong Master was quite high. Although he was not one of the four founders, he was still a core existence. To be able to kill such an expert without giving him a chance to escape, one could imagine how amazing the cultivation of the expert who killed him was. At least, it was definitely not as simple as an almighty. Xing Hui, what is the secret of this supreme divine item? How are you going to cooperate with Tianqiong Master? The two of you will know the effect of this supreme divine item when you see it. As for the cooperation method, this supreme divine item will belong to Tianqiong Master from now on, but half of the Taoist rhymes it produces will belong to me. After saying that, Xing Hui directly took out the blood-red statue. He took it out for two reasons. One was to cover up the fortune divine jade on him. In Xing Hui's mind, the value of this blood-red statue was far from being comparable to the fortune divine jade. By taking out the blood-red statue, he could stop people from speculating that he was at a high level of chaos. As for the second reason, it was to increase Tianqiong Master's strength. Only when Tianqiong Master's overall strength became stronger would he have a higher chance of winning the battle against the heavenly Tao. When he took out the statue, Xing Hui focused on understanding the emotional changes of the two sages. The Taoist rhymes produced by the blood-red statue could definitely be called a steady stream. If any force could obtain this statue and make good use of it, the benefits would be unimaginable. This was especially true for a major force like the Celestial Dome sect. They only needed to destroy a first-rate sect like the Yuanji sect and rely on this blood-red statue to collect hundreds or even hundreds of Taoist rhymes. Moreover, the so-called hundreds of Taoist rhymes were only Xing Hui's personal guess. He did not know whether the efficiency of the special crystal condensed by the blood-red statue was related to the cultivation of the cultivator. If the higher the cultivation of the cultivator, the easier it would be to condense the blood-red crystal, and its value would rise to an unimaginable level. Faced with the temptation of such a supreme treasure, no one could guarantee that they would not be greedy. Xing Hui's mind was clear. If Tianqiong Master was really greedy and wanted to swallow this supreme divine object, Xing Hui would not say anything. However, from now on, he would have nothing to do with Tianqiong Master. He would not care about the battle between Tianqiong Master and the heavenly Tao, nor Tianqiong Master's life and death. With this object, he would be able to repay the favor he owed Tianqiong. Fortunately, after Tianqiong Master and Zhangzhen Master sensed the function of the blood-red statue, their breathing became rapid. However, after a while, they still forcibly suppressed the surging thoughts in their hearts. Xing Hui, are you serious? Are you really willing to give this to Tianqiong Master? As long as it produces half of the Taoist rhymes? Of course. Good. The Firmament Master agreed heavily without any hesitation. There's no need to discuss this with anyone else. I agree to this. From today onwards, half of the crystals produced by the statue will belong to you, Qing Su. Thank you very much, Tianqiong Master. We should be the ones thanking you. Tianqiong Master paused for a moment. Xing Hui, since the suspicion on you has been cleared, your authority should naturally be restored. Moreover, you are in level 40 chaotic realm, which makes you the second most powerful person in Tianqiong Master. The authority of a counselor is a little too low for you. Now, I will make the decision to directly give you the authority of a core counselor. From now on, the Sky Dome realm will be your second home. You can come and go as you wish. Chapter 513. When Celestial Master Zhangqiong and the rest officially confirmed that Broken Sword had betrayed Celestial Master Zhangqiong, Broken Sword had already reappeared in the Chaos Holy Temple. His chaotic class was stripped away and he reverted back to his original state. Fortunately, he always had a Class 18 chaotic class as a backup. This was why he was able to inherit this class of chaos immediately and step into the Chaos Holy Temple again. He reported the news of his exposure to the Lihan Holy Man and allowed the Lihan Holy Man to activate his secret technique to conceal Broken Sword's spiritual undulations. This caused the celestial master Tsang Qiong to be unable to locate him. But even with that being the case, falling from a lofty 28th step son of chaos to a measly 8th step, where all his accumulations over the past 100 years had been reduced to nothing, still left him dispirited. He was obviously filled with hatred towards the main culprit behind all of this, Qing Su. You disappoint me. Inside the Lihan Holy Man's palace, the Lihan Holy Man, who was sitting on the lotus throne, looked at Broken Sword, who was in a sorry state. If not for the fact that Broken Sword was the only one among his children who had cultivated to become a powerful being, he would have been killed by the Lihan Holy Man for committing such a huge mistake. Even though I've made many mistakes, it's not like I'm completely worthless. I've brought important news about Qing Su. He was able to become a Class 40 chaotic class child in a short span of 10 years because he obtained the legendary Supreme Divine Item from Bei Shao. Such a chaotic class child must be the secret weapon of the celestial master Tsang Qiong. If we did not obtain this information beforehand, this Class 40 chaotic class child would have become a surprise weapon and dealt a fatal blow to the celestial master Tsang Qiong. Broken Sword hurriedly defended himself. Supreme Divine Item. Class 40, the Lihan Holy Man looked at Broken Sword and asked, how many people know about this? Only me. Broken Sword replied hurriedly. Very good. I've always thought that the Supreme Divine Item in Tianqiong Bei Zhao's hands was just a rumor. But now, I've personally witnessed an ordinary person rise to such a level with the help of this Divine Item in just 10 years. It's clear that this Divine Item really does exist. Moreover, its effects are even more shocking than the legends. When Remnant Sword heard this, his face immediately revealed a look of joy. Father, you can use the incarnation technique to immediately go to the hidden sword continent to scout the way. After locking onto the location, use the teleportation technique to directly go there. With you personally taking action, Xing Hui will definitely die. At that time, everything in his hands, including that Supreme Divine Item, including his chaotic rank, will become yours. Incarnation technique? My incarnation technique is only at the 2nd level. Even if I really descend to the hidden sword continent, the weakening effect will still make it difficult for me to do anything for the next month. Rather than that, I might as well go directly, but if I go directly, it will inevitably attract the attention of Sky Dome. The Lihan Holy Man naturally had his own concerns. It was rare to see someone like Xing Hui who could use the incarnation technique as he pleased. Furthermore, his actual body could travel freely with the incarnation technique. After all, the requirement for one's personal space to have to be at the 10th level. This was a total of 10 chaotic ranks. Even though the Lihan Holy Man's chaotic rank had broken through the shackles of the 30th level and had once reached the 36th level, the frightening consumption of a little bit of Tao aura every day had already exceeded his limit. Previously, he could still barely support the 36th level of chaotic rank. But recently, the chaotic treasure pavilion had spawned a treasure that was very beneficial to his cultivation. In order to buy that treasure, he borrowed many Tao-carrying items and could no longer sustain the huge consumption of the chaotic treasure pavilion. Currently, his chaotic rank had already fallen to the 32nd level. Looking at the situation, he did not intend to raise his chaotic rank to the 30th level in the near future. Under such circumstances where every chaotic rank was extremely important, he naturally did not have enough chaotic ranks to raise his personal space to the 10th level. It's best not to let a third person know about this. Otherwise, there's a risk that the Supreme Divine Artifact and the Level 40 Chaos Technique will be exposed. The Broken Sword fanned the flames with a regretful tone. The Lihan Holy Man closed his eyes and considered carefully. Finally, he made a decision. There are only 3 people in the entire Heavenly Vault continent who can stop me. They are the Zhu Zhao, the Heavenly Vault continent and that mysterious sword wielder. Among the 3 of them, only the Zhu Zhao dares to say that he can definitely defeat me. If I move towards the hidden sword mainland, as long as I'm fast enough, even if they find out afterwards, that's not right. The broken sword hurriedly said, Father, if the heavenly vault continent finds out that you are heading towards the hidden sword mainland, they will definitely warn Xing Hui. When that happens, if he escapes from the hidden sword mainland and hides, it won't be easy for us to find him again. Therefore, we cannot alert him. The best way is to use the incarnation technique to establish a coordinate in the hidden sword mainland and use the teleportation spell to travel there. Then, when he is unprepared, we can give him a fatal blow. Escape. The Lihan holy man laughed coldly. The Anasrava holy man's divination technique can not only be used in the War of Chaos, it can also be used to predict the whereabouts of others. Especially when he has my Lihan heaven realm. That is my natal treasure. With that treasure, I can ask the Anasrava holy man to predict his location anytime. Where can he escape to? Tell the Anasrava holy man about this. But, what if the Anasrava holy man figures out some clues? The Anasrava holy man is not omniscient and omnipotent. Furthermore, I used the Lihan heaven realm as an excuse to ask him to predict the whereabouts of Xing Hui. In a short period of time, he shouldn't be able to predict so far. Even if he figures out the truth, so what? By then, we would have already captured Xing Hui and interrogated him about the supreme divine item and the chaotic spell. Father is wise. Well, you have to prepare yourself. Zhu Zhao, that old bastard, has spent a lot of energy on you. Now that he has learned of your betrayal, he must be furious and wants to find you and get rid of you. I will discuss with the other Dao masters and see if we can use your trap to lure Zhu Zhao out and get rid of him. Zhu Zhao is the biggest threat in the whole firmament. If we can get rid of him, we don't have to take the risk of destroying the firmament with the War of Chaos. After all, there are too many variables in the War of Chaos, especially now that there is a Son of Chaos at level 40 in the firmament, whose comprehensive level of chaos is not much inferior to our way of heaven. Compared with the uncertainty of the War of Chaos, I will choose to solve the firmament in the real world even if I have to pay a certain price. Lure Zhu Zhao out. When Remnant Sword heard this, there was a trace of hesitation in his heart. However, considering that he had now lost his biggest reliance, the chaos level, he urgently needed to prove his value to attract the attention of the heavenly axiom. Therefore, this hesitation lasted for a moment and was thrown to the back of his mind. Okay. I will think of a way to lure Zhu Zhao out. If we can really kill Zhu Zhao, our chances of winning the War of Heavenly Dao and the Heavenly Dome will increase from 70% to 90%. Not 90%, 100%. The Lihan holy man's eyes were filled with pride. If the Heavenly Dome doesn't have Zhu Zhao, the 8 Dao Masters will no longer be a threat to our lives. When the time comes, many powerful cultivators will swarm up and destroy the Heavenly Dome completely. Hearing the Lihan holy man's words, Broken Sword's heart trembled. If the Zhu Zhao exalted man died, the 8 Dao Masters would no longer be a threat. However, the safety of the Daoist Masters and perfected cultivators might not be guaranteed. After all, the Heavenly Dome Master, the invincible divine state giant, and the mysterious sword wielder were still in the Heavenly Dome. If they wanted to kill the Daoist Masters and perfected cultivators, it would not be difficult. However, in the eyes of the 8 Dao Masters, the life and death of these people were not worth mentioning at all. They only needed to ensure their own safety and that was enough. Dao Master. Just as the Lihan holy man was about to discuss the details of luring the Zhu Zhao exalted man out, a voice came from outside. Not long later, a man dressed in black appeared in the Lihan holy man's palace. Broken Sword knew this person. He was called Master Voracious Wolf. Like him, he was a powerful cultivator and was the most capable subordinate of the Lihan holy man. Although there was a certain gap between the powerful cultivators, the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth and the grand dominion state, this gap was not so big that it could be crushed. The strength of celestial phenomenon of earth and 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 celestial phenomenon. As for the divine state, their power was also established in the grand dominion state. Relying on the grand dominion state, the divine state had a crushing advantage over the powerful cultivators. Which one of the powerful cultivators did not have divine spells? They might not be able to defeat them, but if it was just escaping, there was still hope. Therefore, even if it was an invincible cultivator in the divine state, it was extremely difficult for him to make a powerful cultivator submit to him willingly and become his subordinate. At most, there was a difference in status. When they met, they would greet each other as a sign of respect. To make the other party grovel or even kneel, it was impossible. Because of this, it was extremely rare for a powerful cultivator to completely submit to another powerful cultivator. This was also the reason why Broken Sword dared to return after losing the Li Hen Holy Man's Li Hen Heavenly Realm. He knew that with his status, he would not be punished. Due to this reason, subordinates like Master Greedy Wolf who were completely loyal to the Li Hen Holy Man were extremely rare. With such a capable assistant, even some of the weaker saints would be envious if they saw him. Holy man, we just received news from our spy in the heavens. There are new changes in the first echelon of the Battle of Chaos in the heavens. Pak Hui, who was originally removed from the first echelon, has returned to the first echelon and her ranking is very high. Chapter 5:14. Alright, I got it. The Li Hen Holy Man replied plainly. Broken Sword had already been proven to be the traitor of the Celestial Vault sect. Hence, it was not strange for Tsing Hui to return to the top echelon. Holy man, there is something fishy about this matter. When Pak Hui returned to the top echelon, he used an avatar to descend to the Celestial Vault sect. Furthermore, it was the Celestial Vault sect who personally brought him to their courtyard. Broken Sword seemed to have thought of something as his expression changed. He actually used an avatar to descend to the Celestial Vault sect. Can't he just use the avatar from the Chaos Holy Hall to explain himself? Why? The Li Hen Holy Man also guessed something as his expression darkened. I hope it's not what we think. I don't want to miss out on the ultimate divine item. Broken Sword was also a little anxious. He faintly guessed that Tsing Hui purposely used an avatar to descend to the Celestial Vault sect to hand over the ultimate divine item. A man's wealth is his own ruin. In order to prevent himself from becoming the first target of the Li Hen Holy Man, it was completely reasonable for Tsing Hui to hand over the ultimate divine item in exchange for some substantial benefits. However, if the ultimate divine item landed in the hands of the Celestial Vault sect, it would not be easy for them to keep the ultimate divine item for themselves. The plan to venture to the Tsanjin continent has to be put on hold. Broken Sword, you have operated in the Celestial Vault sect for many years. You should have one or two trustworthy people. Go and investigate immediately to see if the ultimate divine item has really landed in the hands of the Celestial Vault sect. Yes, Father. Furthermore, we have to start planning the trap to lure the Candle sect out. If the Celestial Vault sect obtains the ultimate divine item, the power of the Chaos Holy Hall will increase exponentially. The ultimate divine item in the hands of an ordinary person can allow him to become a rank 40 son of chaos in just a dozen years. Now that it's in the hands of the Celestial Vault sect, who knows what will happen. The War of Chaos only has a 70% chance of winning. I'm afraid it will be reduced to 60% or even 50%. If that's the case, the Way of the Heavens will have to change our strategy against the Celestial Vault sect. Change? Broken Sword was slightly startled. You're not going to decide the outcome through the War of Chaos? The Lihan holy man nodded his head. The powers of the heavenly axiom are obviously stronger than the celestial axiom. The reason why we chose the War of Chaos was to prevent too many losses. But now, the result of the War of Chaos could be a total collapse. In that case, we can only strike the celestial axiom and the other powers in the real world. The celestial axiom's biggest opponent is the candle world. Hence, if you can really do this well and lure the candle world into our trap, the heavenly axiom will give you more resources. It won't be difficult for you to return to the 28th or 29th level of chaos in a few decades. When Remnant Sword heard this, his eyes immediately lit up. Father, don't worry. I will definitely handle this matter properly. With my understanding of Zhu Zhao, the probability of him falling into our trap is more than 90%. Alright, I'll go and discuss the ambush of Zhu Zhao with the other Dao Masters. I hope you won't disappoint me. Yes. Remnant Sword agreed, but his hatred for Tsing Hui did not diminish. Then Tsing Hui, this guy, after taking care of the candle world, the next one will naturally be him. Don't worry, my Lihan Heaven realm is with him. His whereabouts will always be under my control. When I take care of the candle world and deal with him, it will be the time of his death. Father, you are indeed a genius. In the heavenly axiom, the Lihan holy man temporarily turned his attention to the candle world. Tsing Hui did not know about this. At this moment, he had already returned from the celestial axiom and his original body was also in the hidden sword sect. The ambush of Remnant Sword this time has awakened me. Although the combination of the incarnation technique, transmission technique and backtracking technique is tyrannical, it is not unsolvable. No matter how powerful the ability is, as long as it is known and targeted, there will naturally be a way to deal with it. Just like the Lihan Heaven realm, with this thing, Remnant Sword almost turned me into a turtle in a jar. If I didn't happen to have a token of the realm of battle and used it to start a war with the chaos to deprive Remnant Sword of his chaos level, forcing him to escape immediately, I'm afraid that I would be in danger. Tsing Hui glanced at his Son of Chaos interface. The number of Taoist aura in it had increased from the previous 57 to 198. The new 141 Taoist aura was obtained by the celestial axiom intermittently during this period of time from the lower and upper dust cleansing stones of the Comely continent. Because the frequency of selling was relatively low, it took 2 years for them to be completely sold out. When Tsing Hui went to the celestial axiom handed them over to Tsing Hui. Of the 198 Taoist aura, 88 Taoist aura could not be used and would have to be repaid to the Hidden Sword Venerable. Only 110 Taoist aura could really be used. 110 Taoist aura was not a small number. It was not difficult to use it to raise 1 chaos level. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui wanted to condense the Supreme Golden Core and cultivate it to the point of evolving Supreme Divine Sense. The resources required were absolutely massive. Not to mention that he only had 110 Taoist aura. Even if this number was increased tenfold, it was still uncertain whether he could raise his gold core to the Supreme Divine Sense level and evolve Supreme Divine Sense level. Taoist aura. Tsing Hui's spiritual consciousness, which stayed in the Chaos Temple, changed and appeared in the Hunyuan Trade Union. Leader. My lord. Tsing Hui appeared in the Hunyuan Trade Union. Xian Long, Dan Taiying, and Madame Zhu Yu, who happened to be there, stood up at the same time and bowed respectfully. Tsing Hui glanced at Dan Taiying and immediately thought of Dan Taiyu, who had saved him once. Is your family doing well on Dragon Slaying Island? Very good. Currently, your reputation in the Eastern Wasteland is like the sun in the sky. The 9 great saint sects all bow down to you. There is no one who has the courage to have any ideas about our Dragon Slaying Island. In addition, Father and Uncle Wu have been stabilizing their realms recently. Some of the small forces on Dragon Slaying Island that are ready to make trouble don't dare to act rashly. They are working for Dragon Slaying Island wholeheartedly. When Dan Taiying heard Xing Hui's question, he was flattered and replied, "If you can come to Dragon Slaying Island to take a look now, you will definitely be able to sense the changes inside and outside of Dragon Slaying Island." Madame Zhu Yu also smiled and said, "Dragon Slaying Island has replaced Shaoyang Sea City as the largest island and trading hub in the eastern sea of the South China Sea. There are countless cultivators, caravans, and trading groups coming and going on the island. The number of spirit stones produced every year is more than 3 million. 3 million spirit stones." Xing Hui nodded slightly. This number was already half of the resources allocated to the Sea Calming Hall by the Hunyuan Heaven sect when it was first established. At that time, the Sea Calming Hall was almost in charge of suppressing the South China Sea. However, the Hunyuan Heaven sect only allocated 3,000 spirit crystals every 10 years, which was 60 million spirit stones. Dragon Slaying Island's annual profit was 3 million spirit stones, which was 30 million spirit stones in 10 years. It was equivalent to half of the resources owned by the Sea Calming Hall. However, 3 million spirit stones. It was not even enough to buy a level 5 divine weapon. Compared to Xing Hui's current income, it was just a drop in the ocean. Naturally, he would not take it to heart. "You're here this time. A caravan that crossed the sea has appeared on Dragon Slaying Island. They're currently resting on Dragon Slaying Island. I'm here to see if I can contact the important figures of the Chamber of Commerce. Since the Alliance leader is here, I'd like to ask how Dragon Slaying Island should treat this caravan." A caravan that crossed the sea? Xing Hui was slightly taken aback. Due to the war of the overseas beasts, the outer seas of the eastern wilderness could not be considered peaceful. As a result, not a single caravan passed by the eastern wilderness for decades. Many sects in the eastern wilderness had accumulated many valuable items, but they could not exchange them for anything that they were satisfied with. But now, the war of the overseas beasts had ended. It was reasonable for a caravan to cross the sea and enter the eastern wilderness. How powerful is that caravan? It's called the Oven Caravan. They're offering a level 6 divine weapon for 1 Dao aura. As for their strength, it said that the person in charge of the caravan is a golden core expert. In addition, there are many eternal, transcendent, and true energy experts. They should be above us in the eastern wilderness. They're offering a level 6 divine weapon for 1 Dao aura. Xing Hui pondered for a moment. He did not have any impression of the Oven Caravan. He guessed that it was a nameless caravan. He then said, "The eastern wilderness is the territory of the primordial trade caravan. If you want to exchange your items for cultivation resources, you can only do so with the primordial trade caravan. At most, I'll allow Jianing to interfere. As for the others, the eastern wilderness does not welcome them. Give me a spiritual coordinate." "Yes, Alliance leader." Xing Hui asked about Dan Taiying and then turned to Xian Long, "Are there any missions with high returns recently?" "High returns. There's a war-related mission, but it's a little far away." As Xian Long spoke, he took out the list of missions. "It's a mission from the Cloud Sea continent. The Xianming sect, the Haoran sect, and the Sky Sword Alliance of the Cloud Sea continent are fighting for supremacy. They're all trying to become the overlord of the Cloud Sea continent. The war between the 3 sects has reached its climax. The mission is from the Haoran sect, one of the 3 sections. The price is 100 Dao auras." "Only 100 Dao auras?" When Xing Hui heard this number, he frowned slightly. But now, he really needed Tao auras. If this mission was not too troublesome, he would not mind making a trip. Tell me about the situation of the Cloud Sea continent. Yes, the Cloud Sea continent is a medium-sized continent. The production of Tao auras is not very high. It seems to be less than half of what we have in the eastern wilderness. Among the medium-sized continents, it belongs to the lower middle level. However, the martial strength of this continent is not low. It's slightly stronger than our eastern wilderness. Among the three sects, there are 1 or 2 Golden Core Realm experts. The mission only requires you to help the Hunyuan sect kill the Golden Core Realm experts of the other 2 sections. The only trouble is, the Cloud Sea continent is 43 million kilometers away from the Infinite Wasteland continent and 32 million kilometers away from our eastern wilderness. 43 million kilometers, Xing Hui pondered for a while. Considering that this mission was extremely simple and only required him to kill 2 or 3 Golden Core Realm experts, he immediately said, "Accept the mission. I'll deal with it when I have time." Chapter 5:15. After accepting the mission, Xing Hui did not carry it out immediately. The battle strength of a Golden Core Realm cultivator might be very troublesome for an ordinary Golden Core Realm cultivator. Even those who had cultivated a high-grade Golden Core did not dare to guarantee that they could successfully complete the task. After all, these Golden Core Realm cultivators were definitely the strongest cultivators of their respective sections. They would definitely have Never-Ending Realm, Transformative Realm, and True Energy Realm cultivators by their side. Once they were surrounded by so many Golden Core Realm cultivators, even those who had condensed a high-grade Golden Core would have to suffer under this kind of human wave tactic. Moreover, this mission was 43 million kilometers away from Tianhuang region, and there were only 100 Taoist rhymes in profit. Furthermore, he would need to kill several Golden Core experts. Even powerful figures would hesitate. After all, it was not easy for an almighty to descend and kill the clones of a Golden Core Realm expert. In addition, there was a distance of 43 million kilometers. The weakening effect of killing these Golden Core Realm experts would probably last for several years. And in these few years, if there were any accidents, then it would be too late for regrets. There was no need to put oneself in danger for 100 Taoist rhymes. However, it was nothing to Xing Hui. The weakening effect of a normal clone using the 5th-order cloning technique was completely within his acceptable range. Furthermore, he had the backtrack technique to reverse the weakening effect. Once his clone went over, he would use his personal space to transfer his original body. When his original body arrived at the Cloud Sea mainland, he would complete the mission. To him, 1 sword was enough. This mission could only be considered as earning some extra money. As for long-term development, the production of Taoist rhymes was not even half of that of Eastern Wilderness. In a year, there would only be 70 to 80 Taoist rhymes. Xing Hui could not be bothered to spend too much effort on this. After all, after occupying a mainland, it did not mean that one would be able to continuously enjoy the production of Taoist rhymes. From time to time, one would have to clean up and suppress the resistance forces on the mainland. During this period, a lot of energy would be involved. As for sending people over, firstly, Xing Hui did not have any capable subordinates. Secondly, did he not need to spend money on manpower? If there were no benefits, who would be willing to work for him? If he did not feed the horses and wanted them to run diligently, it would lead to a series of revolts sooner or later. When that time came, there would be a lot of trouble. Not to mention, in addition to internal problems, there were also external problems. Who knew if Xing Hui was the only expert who had his eyes on the Cloud Sea continent? Thus, Xing Hui did not have the intention to spend any effort on managing the Cloud Sea continent. What he planned to do was to plunder a wave and leave. If I want to go to a medium-sized or even a small continent to carry out a mission, the most important thing is to have loyal and reliable subordinates. Currently, the people I can use. Eastern Wilderness is considered to have some, but the overall cultivation level of the Eastern Wilderness is relatively low. They can only bully small continents like the Zhongshan continent, but they won't be of much use in the Cloud Sea continent. Then, I can only spend some effort on the magic of casting beans to create soldiers. Tsing Hui wondered if he should spend a huge amount of money to create a powerful spirit monster that could survive for 2 to 3 years. However, even if it was a 10th level spiritual monster, its true battle prowess was inferior to a human cultivator at the Golden Elixir realm. At best, it was comparable to a never-ending realm expert. If he really spent a huge price to create one, it might not be of any use. Deep in thought, Tsing Hui had already descended into the courtyard of the Divine Grace Trade Union. Sir. The moment he arrived, the many peak masters who were originally waiting outside the courtyard but were stopped by Su Tong all started shouting at the same time. After the departure of the Hidden Sword Sect's swordmaster, Tsing Hui, who was the only Grand Elder in the Hidden Sword Sect, was now an existence that was second only to the Hidden Sword Sect's Grand Elder. In addition to the fact that he was responsible for the assessment of the Hidden Sword Sect's 36 peaks, all the peaks of different sizes were instantly alerted. Longqi Peak Master is here to visit. Tianhua Peak Master is here to visit. Iron Jade Peak Master is here to visit. Tsing Hui's gaze swept across all the peak masters who came to visit. At this moment, there were a total of 9 peak masters waiting outside the courtyard, including the rather powerful Iron Jade Peak Master, Zhou Cunyu. Elder, these people have been waiting outside and are unwilling to leave. We can't chase them away, so please forgive us if we have disturbed you. At this moment, Su Tong hurriedly went forward and apologized to Tsing Hui. It's all right. Tsing Hui said, then said to the 9 peak masters, if there's anything you want to say it one by one according to the order of arrival. The 9 peak masters looked at each other. In the end, Longqi Peak Master Yin Fengnian was the first to go forward. Greetings to Grand Elder, come in. Tsing Hui said and went into the main hall. Once in the main hall, the Longqi Peak Master did not even care that the servants had yet to leave. He immediately half-knelt on the ground and said with a pained expression, Grand Elder, I, Yin Fengnian, am guilty. Say it slowly, one by one. If it's not serious and you admit your mistakes with a good attitude, I can let you off. Yes, as Longqi Peak Master Yin Fengnian said, he hurriedly explained all the mistakes he had made in the past few decades. When Qin Su heard that, he vaguely understood that this Peak Lord of Longqi Peak was not exactly an evil person. He had only used his position as a Peak Lord to take some small advantages. He had not done anything else that would harm the interests of the sect. This kind of situation was still within the scope of atonement. Elder, during this period of time, I relied on my position as the Peak Lord of Longqi Peak and went against my conscience to keep a lot of resources for my own use. Now that I think about it, I really regret it. Ancestor Xianda's words enlightened me and made me decide to change my ways. In order to make up for the mistakes I made in the past, I sold all of my belongings and exchanged them for 36 Dao Aura items. I will hand them all over to the sect and hand them over to Elder to decide. After that, Feng Nian will not complain at all no matter how you punish me. As Yin Fengnian said, he moved a box out of his space. Tsing Hui's gaze landed on the box that Yin Fengnian took out. He did not need to look at it to know that there was indeed a 36 Dao Aura item inside. Unlike the Iron Jade Peak, the Longqi Peak could only be considered as a small mountain. There wasn't even a single golden core expert in the mountain. To be able to take out a Dao treasure with 36 Dao auras, it could be said that he had gone bankrupt. But, seeing that you have a good attitude in admitting your mistakes, I'll put this matter aside for the time being. You'll also be the temporary Peak Master of Longqi Peak. During this period of time, if anyone comes to report your crimes to me, or if I find out that the crimes you've confessed are not consistent with what I've investigated, then you can forget about your position as the Peak Master of Longqi Peak. If the situation is serious, I'll directly report it to the Hidden Swordmaster. I'll even personally clean up the mess for the Hidden Swordmaster and cripple your cultivation. Tsing Hui's words caused Yin Fengnian's heart to tremble. He thought about how Tsing Hui defeated the 4 Golden Core experts of the North Moon Peak 2 years ago. If he really wanted to deal with Longqi Peak, which did not even have a Golden Core expert, would not be able to resist at all. For a moment, he hurriedly promised. Elder, please be at ease. I have already explained all my mistakes clearly. Furthermore, I have been thinking of ways to make up for them in this period of time. If Elder were to visit Longqi Peak now, you will definitely see a brand new and thriving Longqi Peak. I hope so. You may leave. Tsing Hui said. As for the 36 Dao Aura item, he naturally kept it. When the time came, he would hand it over to Hidden Sword Venerable together with Zhou Cunyu's 88 Dao Aura item. After the Peak Master of the Longqi Peak left, the Peak Master of the Tianhua Peak also followed in. Tianhua Peak's purpose was the same as Longqi Peak's, to admit their mistakes and apologize. In the end, they also left behind the 29 Dao Aura item. Tianhua Peak, Sword Drawing Peak, Golden Sun Peak and the other peaks. These people seem to have heard similar information from the Peak Lord of Longqi Peak, Yin Fengnian. After learning that Qing Su did not intend to kill them all, they all felt relieved and admitted their mistakes with a very good attitude. In the end, when they left, they all turned the things they had embezzled into Dao-carrying treasures and handed them over. There were around 20 Dao-carrying treasures, and only a few of them took out 36 Dao-carrying treasures like Longqi Peak. After half a day, Tsing Hui finally finished meeting with the 8 Peak Masters. At the last moment, he let Iron Jade Peak Master Zhou Cunyu into the courtyard. Once in the courtyard, Zhou Cunyu immediately apologized to Tsing Hui. Not long ago, Cunyu was too eager to plan for the future of Hidden Sword Sect. I did not hesitate to borrow Grand Elder Tsing Hui's influence to pass the plan to Hidden Sword Venerable. I was really blinded by greed. Please punish me, Grand Elder Tsing Hui. It's just some careful thoughts that need to be approved by Hidden Sword Venerable. Your starting point is also for the sect. Qing Su said indifferently, the peak lords of the other peaks have all come to apologize to me and rein themselves in, so why has the peak lord of the Iron Jade Peak come this time? Is it the same as the other peaks? Great Elder of Qing Su, I dare not say that our Iron Jade Peak is the clearest and most righteous of the 36 sword hidden peaks, but in the past century, we have never done a single thing that goes against the interests of the sect. Even when other peaks tried to drag us into their evil deeds, we rejected them without any hesitation and even tried to help them set things right. Unfortunately, the sect was affected by the rumors of the ancestral master's passing, and it was on the verge of collapse. Everyone was working together, so even if our Iron Jade Peak wanted to change the atmosphere of the sect, we were powerless to change the situation. In the end, we could only choose to stay out of it. The Great Elder of Qing Su can visit our Iron Jade Peak at any time to investigate this. If I, Zhou Cunyu, have lied in any way, I am willing to accept any punishment from the Great Elder. Zhou Cunyu said with certainty. Tsing Hui glanced at Zhou Cunyu. Hidden Sword Venerable's evaluation of him was that he was very capable, but also very scheming. It seemed that Zhou Cunyu had long since noticed that the Hidden Sword sect's direction was not right. He had been adjusting the discipline of his Iron Jade Peak. His purpose was to wait for this moment. If all the peaks in the Hidden Sword sect were in a foul situation, but Iron Jade Peak was able to maintain its integrity and outshine the others, they would immediately be noticed by Hidden Sword Venerable. At that time, Hidden Sword Venerable would naturally take away the authority of the Hidden Sword sect from Hidden Sword Peak and hand it over to Iron Jade Peak. Chapter 5:16. Considering the calculative and utilitarian nature of the Iron Jade Peak Master, Tsing Hui's heart was slightly moved. He already had a plan. I will investigate the matter of the Iron Jade Peak. As for now, I can give you a chance to atone for your crimes by using me to send a message to the Hidden Sword Venerable. Hearing this, Zhou Cunyu was immediately overjoyed. Please instruct me, Supreme Elder. If I, Zhou Cunyu, am able to do it, I will do my best to complete Elder's instructions. I have a lot of crimes that the Peak Masters have confessed. You can secretly investigate the authenticity of each of them. If there are people who still try to hide the truth from me, inform me immediately. Tsing Hui slowly said. Since the Peak Master of the Iron Jade Peak, Zhou Cunyu, had the intention to replace the Hidden Sword Peak and become the main peak of the Hidden Sword sect, then he would definitely not let go of any stain on the Peak Masters of the other peaks. After all, these stains were his powerful weapons to eliminate his competitors. If this matter was handed over to him, he would definitely treat it as his own business and handle it conscientiously. In addition, he had been in the Hidden Sword sect for many years and even had the intention to compete with the Hidden Sword Peak. He must have a lot of power. When investigating these matters, he would naturally be very efficient. Zhou Cunyu led the people of the Iron Jade Peak to take care of the trivial matters of the various peaks, while Tsing Hui watched over Zhou Cunyu. This way, his workload would undoubtedly be reduced by a lot. Since you have the intention to replace the Hidden Sword Peak as the new sect leader of the Hidden Sword sect, then you naturally have to show enough ability. Right now, secretly investigating the authenticity of the information given by the other peaks is your chance. Whether or not you can obtain my approval will depend on this. I hope you won't disappoint me. When Zhou Cunyu heard that, he immediately clasped his hands and promised excitedly, "Don't worry, Great Elder Qing Su. I, Zhou Cunyu, will definitely investigate these mountains thoroughly. I won't let any black sheep escape." Very good. Tsing Hui nodded slightly. In the end, he said, "You specially came to visit me, don't tell me that you are here to apologize to me for what happened that day." Of course not. As Zhou Cunyu said that, he hesitated for a moment before continuing, "I've actually come this time because I have something to report to the Great Elder of the Green Ruins. According to the information I've received, the Peak Lords of the Mingjian Peak, the Polar Peak, the Heavy Sword Peak, and a few of the more powerful peaks of our Hidden Sword sect will be holding a meeting tomorrow night. The location will be Mingjian Peak. The meeting this time will be hosted by the two disciples of the Hidden Sword Venerable, Su Ran and Zhong Xian, two veteran Golden Core experts. There will be a total of 26 Golden Core experts present, while there will be over 60 people who will be representing the 36 peaks of the Hidden Sword sect. Some of them will be representing the 36 peaks of the Hidden Sword sect, while some will be representing sects of various sizes that are vassal to the Hidden Sword sect. The matter to be discussed is related to the Great Elder of the Green Ruins. They have also invited our Taiyu Peak, but we have turned them down. 26 Golden Core experts, 10 or so mountain peaks, and some sects of various sizes that are dependent on the Hidden Sword sect. Tsing Hui looked indifferent. What do these people want to do? Are they trying to rebel? Zhou Cunyu did not see any fear or trouble on Qing Su's face when he heard the number of 26 Golden Core cultivators. He let out a sigh of relief inside, like a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Tsing Hui was able to defeat the 4 Gold Core experts of the North Moon Peak 2 years ago, showing a strength that was far beyond the Gold Core level. Now that he had cultivated with Hidden Sword Master for 2 years, although it was not a long time, it could be concluded that his cultivation must have improved a lot. This was the reason why Zhou Cunyu took the risk of not being able to establish himself in the Hidden Sword sect if he failed, and reported this to Tsing Hui. Of course, the fact that Zhou Cunyu had spent 88 Taoist rhymes on Tsing Hui was also one of the main reasons. Otherwise, he might not have intervened in this meeting that Su Ran and Zhongshuan held to fight against Tsing Hui, the Supreme Elder. However, he would not take the risk of offending the core members of the Hidden Sword sect and telling Tsing Hui about this. I don't know the exact reason why these people have banded together, but it's probably related to the Sword Venerable Hidden Sword appointing you as our second Great Elder. After all, our Hidden Sword sect has never had a second Great Elder before you. Even the most respected elder in the entire sect, Elder Duan Jianfeng, is only an elder who watches over the myriad swords peak. He's nowhere near as important as a great elder. These people have probably gathered together to create pressure so that you can ask the sword Venerable Hidden Sword for permission to step down from your position as a great elder and be demoted to a regular elder. After all, even with the hymn of 100 swords, you're only being nurtured as the future sect master of the Hidden Sword sect. It'll still take some time before you become the sect master, let alone a great elder who's even more important than the sect master. I know. Tsing Hui responded but did not say anything else. You don't have to worry about these things. You just have to investigate those mountains. Remember, investigate secretly. I gave you the right to do so, but it doesn't mean you can use it to do whatever you want. Do you understand? Yes, Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, don't worry about that. Zhou Tsuanyu saw that he had achieved his goal, so he respectfully agreed. You may leave. I'll take my leave. Zhou Tsuanyu bowed respectfully and left the courtyard. When he left the courtyard, he had a smile on his face. He had already sent the news to Tsing Hui. Now, he just had to wait for the show between Supreme Elder Tsing Hui and the other mountains tomorrow night. Zhou Tsuanyu, seeing Zhou Tsuanyu leave, Tsing Hui shook his head. He could see that this was Zhou Tsuanyu's overt scheme. He wanted him to fall out with Mingjian Peak, Aurora Peak, Heavy Sword Peak and the other forces. In this way, these mountains that were qualified to compete with him for the Hidden Sword sect leader's throne would definitely be destroyed by Tsing Hui and thrown into the trash can. Without these powerful mountains to compete with him, the remaining mountains that were stronger than him might not be as fair as him, and those that were fairer than him might not have the strength to control the situation. In Zhou Tsuanyu's opinion, he only needed to wait until the conflict between Tsing Hui and these mountains completely erupted. He only needed to ensure that he did not make any big mistakes and conscientiously complete the tasks that Tsing Hui gave him. Then, the throne of the Hidden Sword sect leader would naturally fall into his hands. Unfortunately, in a sect, scheming against each other was not the mainstream. The most important thing was to be able to unite all the forces of the entire sect into a single entity. In his opinion, only such a person could be called a qualified sect leader and a qualified sect leader. And Zhou Tsuanyu, obviously, he did not have the qualifications. The problem that the Hidden Sword sect is facing isn't small at all. 100 years. The Hidden Sword Venerable hasn't appeared for 100 years and the sect is already in such a mess. From this, it can be seen that the Hidden Sword sect itself also has quite a big problem. A big mess needs to be solved. Since that's the case, then let's be a little more ruthless and solve the problem that the Hidden Sword sect is facing. Tsing Hui looked in the direction of Mingjian Peak and muttered to himself. His eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. Just when Tsing Hui thought that most of the people that he should visit had arrived, an unexpected person suddenly appeared in Tsing Hui's courtyard under the lead of Su Shao. Su Shao looked at the man behind him who was hidden in a black robe. He was still a little emotional. After a while, he turned to Tsing Hui and said, Mr. Sect leader is here to visit. As the man in the black robe pushed his hat to the back of his neck, the current sect leader of the Hidden Sword sect, Xiao Luying, was revealed. Xiao Luying looked at Tsing Hui and hesitated for a moment. But he still lowered his head and bowed, Greetings, Grand Elder. Sect leader Xiao. Tsing Hui said calmly. Xiao Luying, the son of the Hidden Sword Venerable's eldest disciple, Xiao Zongyun. He had cultivated to the Golden Core stage at a young age and had mastered the essence of the Sword Tao. He was hailed as the Sword Sage and the current sect leader of the Hidden Sword sect. Tsing Hui could only use one sentence to describe this sect leader of the Hidden Sword sect. Dead seat without doing any work. That's right, dead seat without doing any work. Xiao Luying didn't make any big mistakes when he was the sect leader of the Hidden Sword sect. But he didn't make any contributions either. On the contrary, he who occupied the sect leader's throne, spent most of his time in seclusion. He made use of the unique cultivation environment that the sect leader could enjoy and cultivated day and night. His cultivation was almost comparable to the hidden sword venerable's seclusion for 100 years. Even though he had not harmed any of the hidden sword sect's interests in the past 100 years, nor had he committed any heinous crimes, as the sect leader of the hidden sword sect and the person at the helm of such a large sect, not doing anything was his biggest mistake. If it wasn't for the fact that he spent most of his time in seclusion and didn't care much about the affairs of the hidden sword sect, the situation of the hidden sword sect wouldn't have deteriorated to such an extent in just 100 years. After all, the hidden sword peak was the biggest peak in the hidden sword sect. Even if the Aurora Peak and the North Moon Peak were in their prime, they couldn't be compared to the hidden sword peak. If the hidden sword peak really wanted to control the atmosphere of the hidden sword sect and suppress the arrogance of the Aurora Peak and the North Moon Peak and the Aurora Peak wouldn't be able to stand out in a short period of time. Unfortunately, he didn't. Sect leader Xiao, why didn't you continue to cultivate in seclusion in the hidden sword peak and condense your golden core earlier? Xiao Luiying glanced at Tsing Hui. He really couldn't figure out the depth of Tsing Hui's thoughts. However, considering the importance that the hidden sword venerable placed on Tsing Hui and the words that his martial uncle Duan Jianfeng said to him when he asked for advice, he still lowered his attitude. I'm here to apologize to Grand Elder Tsing Hui. Apologize? Sect leader Xiao didn't do anything that harmed the interests of the hidden sword sect. What do you mean by apologizing? A sliver of guilt flashed through Xiao Luiying's eyes. I may not have done anything that harms the interests of the sect, but as the sect master of the hidden sword sect, I've watched the Aurora Peak, North Moon Peak, and the other peaks grow bigger and bigger, becoming arrogant and despotic as they bully our fellow sect members. Yet, I've been too cautious and indecisive, indirectly allowing their arrogance to flourish. This is my greatest mistake. As a result, I've come to resign from my position as the sect master of the hidden sword sect, hoping that the great elder will allow me to resign from my position as the sect master of the hidden sword sect and give it to someone more capable. Chapter 517. Tsing Hui was a little surprised by Xiao Luiying's words. Su Xiao couldn't help but exclaim, Sect Master, when I competed for the Sect Master's throne, it was actually because of the special cultivation environment that the Sect Master could have. In fact, I haven't made any contributions to the Hidden Sword Sect since I took up the position. The reason why I didn't choose a new successor was because of my selfishness. I wanted to use the Sect Master's power to cultivate the upper-grade golden core in my body to perfection as soon as possible, and even break through to the level of the peerless golden core in one go. Because of this, I didn't want to give up the Sect Master's throne. I even turned a blind eye to the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak causing trouble in the sect. On one hand, I didn't want to be distracted by this matter. On the other hand, I was worried that if I angered the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak, it would cause unrest in the Hidden Sword sect and affect the stability of the sect. I'm afraid you weren't afraid of the two peaks causing unrest in the sect, but you were worried that the two peaks would target your sect master's throne and cause you to be unable to cultivate peacefully, right? Tsing Hui snorted coldly. That's impossible, right? Su Xiao couldn't help but interrupt. The Hidden Sword Peak is more powerful than the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak. If the two peak masters are still rational, they should know that it's very difficult for them to take the sect master's throne from the Hidden Sword Peak. It's very difficult, but that doesn't mean they can't do it. Even if they can't do it, once the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak target the Hidden Sword Peak, I'm afraid the Hidden Sword Peak won't have a peaceful day for a long time. Once this peace is broken, all kinds of big and small problems will come one after another. When that time comes, Xiao Luiying, the sect master, won't have enough time to cultivate in seclusion, condense his peerless golden core, and step into the door of God power. Tsing Hui said indifferently. Xiao Luiying lowered his head under Tsing Hui's accusation and didn't have anything to say. Xiao Feiying's talent was not bad, but he could only be considered a normal genius. He was still far from being a peerless genius. In his life, cultivating a high-grade golden core would be his limit. Even then, he would have to rely on a lot of external help to achieve it. If he wanted to cultivate a peerless golden core, he would be able to enter the transcendent realm, and his position as the Hidden Sword House's Grand Master would not be shaken. Once he lost the benefits of being the sect master, a superior grade golden core would be his limit. He would have to beg the Hidden Sword Supremacy for more resources to complete his superior grade golden core. As for whether or not one could develop a divine ability after reaching the golden core realm, that would depend on the will of the heavens. All these factors led to the fact that Xiao Luiying did nothing to help the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak. Sts selfish. Xiao Luiying lowered his head sadly. Indeed, you are no longer fit to sit on the Hidden Sword Sect leader's throne. However, you reap what you sow. After so many years, you have become the Hidden Sword Sect leader and allowed the Hidden Sword Sect situation to deteriorate. Now that you want to step down from your position as the Hidden Sword Sect leader, you naturally have to put an end to everything that you have caused. Once all these problems have been resolved, I will request the Hidden Sword Sect leader to allow you to enter the Burial Sword Peak for closed-door cultivation. As for whether or not you can break through to the transcendent stage, that will depend on your own fortune. Tsing Hui said. Xiao Luiying looked guilty, but he still respectfully said, I'll follow the Grand Elder's orders. What do you need me to do? You don't know. Tsing Hui looked at Xiao Luiying and said, Don't tell me you don't know anything about the gathering on Mingjian Peak. Mingjian Peak? Xiao Luiying was confused. I've been visiting Senior Uncle Duan on Wanjian Peak for the whole day, and didn't return to the Hidden Sword Peak at all. I'll send a message to ask what happened. Then, he took out a communication jade talisman and sent the message in front of Tsing Hui. Soon, the jade talisman vibrated, and there was a reply. When Xiao Luiying read the message in the jade talisman, his face changed and he couldn't help but scold, nonsense. What the two senior uncles did, they didn't respect the Grand Elder at all. After that, he turned to Qing Su in a hurry and said, Great Elder, I think the two senior uncles must have been confused for a moment. I'll go to the famed Sword Peak right now and persuade the two senior uncles to disperse the gathering immediately. Tsing Hui looked at Xiao Luiying and said coldly, I'll let you deal with this first. If you can't, then I'll do it myself. Do it yourself. Xiao Luiying's face froze when he heard Tsing Hui's words. Although everyone's impression of Tsing Hui was still at the time when he defeated the 4 Golden Core powerhouses of the North Moon Peak by himself 2 years ago, based on his senses and Duan Jianfeng's senses of Tsing Hui, he knew that this Grand Elder wasn't as simple as they thought. In the past 2 years, he had followed the Hidden Sword Venerable in the Buried Sword Peak and had undergone some drastic changes. Once the changes were revealed, it would be enough to crush Su Ran and Zhong Xian, who were trying to fight against Tsing Hui, and the dozens of Golden Core powerhouses among the Peak Masters. Therefore, he absolutely could not watch this happen without doing anything. Don't worry, Grand Elder Tsing Hui, I'll take care of this properly and won't disturb you. I hope so. Tsing Hui said. Xiao Luiying bowed and quickly left the courtyard. Sir. Grand Elder, are the Mingjian Peak, Aurora Peak, and the other peaks really working together to harm you? Su Xiao looked at Tsing Hui and asked worriedly. Is this important? If the people from the Mingjian Peak and Aurora Peak really dare to do this, why don't you enter the Burial Sword Peak? The Burial Sword Peak is protected by a powerful formation that was personally set up by a close friend of our patriarch. With this formation, no one will be able to hurt you unless an Almighty who has cultivated divine sense attacks you personally. When Hidden Sword Swordmaster arrives, you can report this matter to him. I believe Hidden Sword Swordmaster will understand your difficulties. Hide in the Buried Sword Peak. Tsing Hui smiled faintly. The Hidden Sword Venerable asked me to investigate the 36 peaks of the Hidden Sword sect. If I hide in the Buried Sword Peak, how can I investigate? Alright, I know what to do. It's best if Xiao Luiying can solve this problem. If not, I'll do it myself. Su Xiao saw that Xing Hui was calm and confident. She wanted to persuade him, but soon, she thought of 2 years ago when Xing Hui wanted to help the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce out of trouble. However, because of her distrust, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was almost in danger. If it wasn't for Mr. Xing Hui's great power, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce would have been finished. Thinking of this, she stopped talking and waited to see what would happen. A day passed by quickly. On this day, the departure of the Hidden Sword sect could be said to have changed the situation inside and outside the Hidden Sword sect. Countless peak masters and elders rushed to leave, racking their brains for their future. On this day, Xing Hui didn't go to the famous Sword Peak as Zhou Cunyu expected. He didn't stop Su Ran and Zhong Xian from forming the alliance. Instead, he stayed quietly in the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce and observed the situation. Just when Xing Hui thought that nothing big would happen on this day, a fierce battle broke out and shocked all the cultivators within 100 kilometers of the Hidden Sword sect. It's from the famous Sword Peak. Su Xiao, Su Tong, Xing Lian, Jin Yin, and Si Tongjian, who had been paying attention to the famous Sword Peak, ran to Xing Hui's courtyard immediately. The Grand Elder didn't go to the famous Sword Peak. Then who is attacking the people there? Jin Yin was confused. Should we report to the Grand Elder and go to the famous Sword Peak together? Su Tong glanced at the courtyard where Xing Hui was and asked doubtfully. Su Xiao hesitated for a moment and thought of the conversation between Xing Hui and Sect Master Xiao yesterday. In the end, she shook her head and said, "We can all feel the mighty energy wave, let alone the Grand Elder Xing Hui." But the Grand Elder Xing Hui didn't show up. He must have his own considerations. After that, she turned to Jin Yin and said, "Elder, I'll have to trouble you to find out what happened at Mingjian Peak." "Okay." Jin Yin responded and rose into the air at once, flying in the direction of Mingjian Peak. "Let's go together." Xing Lian and Si Tongjian followed. Su Tong and Su Xiao stayed outside Xing Hui's courtyard and waited for the next news. After a while, Jin Yin sent the news over. It's the Hidden Sword Peak. The Hidden Sword Peak is fighting with the famous Sword Peak, Aurora Peak, and Heavy Sword Peak. The Hidden Sword Peak is fighting with the Heavy Sword Peak, Famous Sword Peak, and Aurora Peak. Su Xiao was slightly stunned. Then, as if she realized something, her face suddenly changed. At this time, Su Tong took out her communication jade charm. Obviously, someone had sent her a message. The Hidden Sword Peak is fighting with the Heavy Sword Peak, Aurora Peak, and Famous Sword Peak. But to be exact, it's not the Hidden Sword Peak, Famous Sword Peak, and Heavy Sword Peak, Aurora Peak, and Famous Sword Peak that are fighting. More than 30 experts led by Sect Master Xiao Luying, 26 Golden Core Stage experts, and hundreds of Transcendent Stage and Eternal Stage experts led by the Heavy Sword Peak, Aurora Peak, and Famous Sword Peak. Not all the experts of the Hidden Sword Peak are involved. Less than half of them are involved. Less than half. This result surprised Su Xiao. Sect Master Xiao is not only the Sect Master of the Hidden Sword Sect, but also the Peak Master of the Hidden Sword Peak. Is there anyone in the Hidden Sword Peak who doesn't obey his orders? Su Tong shook her head. She wasn't there, so she naturally didn't know what happened. At this moment, a sword light came whistling from the horizon at an extremely fast speed. It was Si Tongjian who had followed Jin Yin to watch the show. Si Tongjian hurried to this area of space and cried out in a hurry, "Oh no!" Senior uncles Su Ming and Zhong Xian have brought 16 Golden Core experts and several dozen never-ending, transformative, and true energy experts over to our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Their objective is to force the Great Elder of Qing Su to resign from his position as the Great Elder to the Venerable Hidden Sword and leave the Hidden Sword sect, never to set foot in the sect again. Chapter 518. What? Su Xiao, Su Tong, and the others were shocked by Si Tongjian's words. How? How dare they? Supreme Elder Tsing Hui is the Supreme Elder appointed by the Sword Supreme himself. Not only do they want Supreme Elder Tsing Hui to resign from his position, but they also want him to leave the Hidden Sword sect and never set foot in the Hidden Sword sect again. Are they trying to go against Hidden Sword Venerable's orders? Su Tong said in disbelief. I don't know the exact details either. They keep saying that the great elder of Qing Su Ruins possesses a special secret technique and has bewitched Lord Hidden Sword Venerable. It seems like even the sect master has been bewitched by them, which is why he mustered so many people to strike out in anger and expel the great elder of Qing Su Ruins in one fell swoop. Even if Lord Hidden Sword Venerable learns of this in the future and flies into a rage, the outcome is already set. When Si Tongjian said that, he hurriedly advised, let's ask the great elder of Qing Su to hide at the Sword Burial Peak. Over a dozen Golden Core experts are coming aggressively, and they're even led by the Sword Venerable's direct disciples, Su Ran and Zhong Xian. This force is definitely not something any Golden Core expert can withstand. All right. At this moment, a voice came from the courtyard. It was Tsing Hui. Seeing Tsing Hui walk out of the courtyard, Si Tongjian, Su Tong, and the others quickly bowed. Greetings, Supreme Elder Tsing Hui. It seems that the problem of the Hidden Sword sect is much more serious than I thought. This problem is not only brought about by the Grand Supreme and the Way of Heaven, but also by the Hidden Sword sect itself. Among them, Su Ran and Zhongshuan, the two personal disciples of the Hidden Sword Venerable, are the biggest black sheep. Tsing Hui raised his head and looked at the horizon. There, he could faintly see a stream of light approaching quickly. I vaguely understand why the Sword Supreme asked me to deal with the Hidden Sword sect. He really doesn't know how to deal with his two disciples who have been with each other for thousands of years. Since the Sword Supreme is troubled, I'll deal with it on behalf of the Sword Supreme. After saying that, Tsing Hui leaped and stepped into the void. Whoosh! 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 Almost at the moment when Tsing Hui stepped into the void, dozens of sword lights whizzed in from all directions and surrounded Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui! With a loud shout, Su Kong, the Peak Master of Mingjian Peak, Lu Xiangyang, the Peak Master of Polar Peak, and Shui Huabai, the Peak Master of Heavy Sword Peak, stepped out of the crowd at the same time. At the same time, Su Ran and Zhong Xian, the two disciples of Hidden Sword Venerable, stepped forward. Qing Su, just what sort of evil secret technique did you use to actually bewitch my master? Tell me the truth, and I can still spare you and spare your life. Otherwise, I'll capture you later and guarantee that you'll face a life or death struggle. Su Kong, the Sword Supreme, shouted. That's right. Now, your only choice is to surrender. You'll only be asking for trouble if you're stubborn. Su Ran said slowly in a gloomy voice. I believe that my master would never appoint someone who is not from the Hidden Sword sect as the Supreme Elder for no reason. There must be something I don't know. Today, you'd better tell me all the tricks you used to bewitch my master. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Zhong Xian said. Qing Su glanced past all the elders, peak lords, and guests before him, including the two disciples of the sword-concealing venerable, Su Ran and Zhong Xian. In the end, he exhaled slowly, you're blinded by greed. What did you say? You're about to die and yet you're still so stubborn. Su Ran stepped forward and said in a sharp voice. Why did you come to kill me? It's because I was ordered to investigate all the crimes that you've committed against the interests of the Hidden Sword sect. Therefore, I chose to strike first to gain the upper hand. All of you know what's going on. Why do you have to find such a high-sounding reason for yourself? Tsing Hui looked at Su Ran coldly. Didn't all of you think about it carefully? Since the Sword Supreme entrusted this task to me, how could he not have expected that I would face all kinds of difficulties? However, he still entrusted this task to me. It shows that I have the ability to solve these difficulties. Otherwise, why would the Sword Supreme want to kill me? I'm giving all of you one last chance. Retreat immediately and hand over all the crimes that you've committed over the years, as well as the interests of the Hidden Sword sect. Resign from your positions and I'll let all of you live in peace. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Ha! Tsing Hui's words made everyone's expression change slightly. They looked at Tsing Hui with fear in their eyes. Could it be that the person in front of them was really a powerful expert? However, they had clearly investigated that the battle between him and the 4 Golden Core Realm experts of the North Moon Peak 2 years ago had only resulted in a draw. Now, with over a dozen Golden Core Realm experts swarming him, there was absolutely no possibility of him winning. Everyone, don't worry. He's just bluffing. Have you forgotten the information we got from the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak? Even if 2 years had passed, how much could he have improved in his cultivation? Could it be that he has cultivated divine powers? He's just saying that to scare us. Su Ran said loudly. Mingjian Peak Master Su Kong also said, that's right. The Sword Supreme Master has been in seclusion for hundreds of years. During this time, he doesn't know much about the development of the Hidden Sword sect. That's why he gave this seemingly wrong order. This order is the opportunity for us to set things right and restore order in the Hidden Sword sect. After Su Ran and Su Kong shouted, the Gold Core Realm experts, who were originally a little afraid, became excited again. Even though Tsing Hui had been cultivating with the Sword Supreme Master for the past 2 years, could he have developed divine powers in 2 years? With this mentality, none of the Gold Core Realm experts retreated. Instead, they faintly formed a formation and blocked all of Tsing Hui's escape routes. Tsing Hui glanced at the Gold Core Realm experts one by one. Finally, his eyes fell on Su Ran and Zhong Xian. I've given you a chance. This is your final choice. Sword Supreme Master Hidden Sword had treated him well, and it was not an exaggeration to say that he owed him a great favor. Su Ran and Zhong Xian were his disciples, but they had disobeyed many of his orders. They had stirred up the Hidden Sword sect that he had established. It was really distressing. Now that he had scolded them again and again, these people were still stubborn and unrepentant. They could not blame him. Since Sword Supreme Master Hidden Sword could not teach the two of them a lesson due to their relationship as master and disciple, then he would do it himself. Don't give him time to talk nonsense. Take him down. Su Ran shouted and immediately waved his hand. The 3 Gold Core Realm experts of the Mingjian Peak jumped up at the same time. Their genuine vitality surged and the power of the Gold Core burst out. Above their heads, powerful spiritual beasts and even phantoms of pseudo-divine beasts swept out a mighty pressure. With the momentum of Mount Tai, they bombarded Tsing Hui, who was in the middle of the encirclement. Seeing the 3 Gold Core Realm experts of the Mingjian Peak attacking, the other Gold Core Realm experts of the other peaks were unwilling to be left behind. They all manifested their divine bodies at the same time, and their gold cores burst out. In an instant, a total of 9 Gold Core Realm experts attacked at the same time. The mighty energy waves swept through the void. With just a glance, everyone could clearly feel the vast and mighty power contained in the attacks of the 9 Gold Core Realm experts. One attack can cripple him. Whether Tsing Hui is bluffing or is he really capable, we can test it in one attack. Have they finally attacked? At this moment, countless cultivators of the Hidden Sword sect's 36 peaks, and even a large number of representatives of the small and medium-sized sects that were originally affiliated with the Hidden Sword sect, looked in this direction at the same time. This battle could be said to directly determine the future of the Hidden Sword sect. Clang! Just as everyone's attention was attracted by the mighty power of the 9 Gold Core Realm experts' attack, a loud and clear sound of a sword rang through the void. In the next moment, a shocking ray of sword light shot into the sky like a dazzling sun, carrying a vast and majestic pressure. In an instant, it tore apart all the clouds in the sky and pierced through the sky. After the sword light rushed into the sky and reached its peak, it exploded like a firework, giving birth to 9 rays of sword chi, which violently blasted towards the 9 gold core realm experts' attack. The sword chi that tore the void and the mighty attack of the gold core realm collided fiercely in the void. Rumble. The sound of a violent explosion echoed in the void. However, the sound of the explosion wasn't as powerful or deafening as everyone had imagined. On the contrary, it was low and ear-piercing. The feeling was like a creature flying at high speed suddenly breaking the sound barrier, or like the sound of a bullet piercing a balloon, causing one's eardrums to ring. Before anyone could react to this strange sound, the 9 rays of dazzling sword light had already torn through the energy torrent formed by the 9 gold core realm experts' attack. The remaining force did not diminish as it shot into the majestic battle bodies of the 9 gold core realm experts. In the face of this sudden attack, the 9 gold core realm experts' reaction could not be said to be slow. One by one, they either attacked or defended, each displaying their remarkable abilities to block the 9 rays of sword chi. However, it was useless. It was like using a scalding divine sword to cut through the beginnings of tofu. The 9 rays of sword chi pierced through the battle bodies of the 9 gold core realm experts with an unstoppable force and continued to advance inch by inch, directly cutting into the bodies of the 9 gold core realm experts. The sword chi exploded, and the 9 gold core realm experts cried out in pain at the same time. One by one, their arms were smashed into pieces by the sword chi, exploding into a bloody pulp. Is that all? After heavily injuring the 9 gold core realm experts with a single strike, Tsing-Hui completely ignored the stunned gold core realm experts and indifferently moved forward. The scarlet abyss sword in his hand trembled, and sword chi shot out explosively. The 2 gold core realm experts in front of him who did not have time to push away screamed at the same time. Their manifested battle bodies were crushed into pieces by the 2 rays of sword chi at an unbelievable speed. The collapse of their battle bodies and the heavy injury to their souls naturally caused the 2 of them to cry out in pain. Their faces were filled with fear as they retreated rapidly, completely leaving the distance between Tsing-Hui and Su Ran, Su Kong, Zhong Xian, and the others. This caused the culprits of this operation to be directly exposed to Tsing-Hui's sword. Take my sword. If the 3 of you can still stand, I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, if you don't even have this ability and still dare to provoke me, the Supreme Elder, then be prepared to pay the price. Tsing-Hui raised the Scarlet Abyss sword high in the air, and sword chi filled the air once again. Chapter 519. Divine Power. Divine Power. You've cultivated divine power. You're an almighty in the divine power realm. Su Ran, Su Kong, Lu Xiangyang, Zhong Xian, and the others couldn't help but scream when they saw Tsing-Hui severely injuring 9 golden core realm experts with 1 strike. The other cultivators who were watching this scene from afar were all shocked. They had been guessing what methods Tsing-Hui would use to fight against the alliance of 26 golden core realm experts formed by Su Ran, Su Kong, Zhong Xian, and the others. However, they never expected that Tsing-Hui's final method would be so direct, simple, and violent. This is definitely the power of divine power. The person that Sword Venerable left behind to guard the sect is actually an almighty. No wonder the Patriarch appointed him as the 2nd Supreme Elder of the Hidden Sword sect. No wonder Supreme Elder Tsing-Hui was not afraid of the alliance of these people. It turns out that he is an almighty who has cultivated divine power. Forget about the alliance formed by Martial Uncle Su Ming and Martial Uncle Zhong Xian. Even if all the Golden Core realm experts in the entire Hidden Sword sect were to join forces and attack at the same time, I'm afraid it would still be difficult for us to be his match. Wasn't Supreme Elder Tsing-Hui only at the upper grade Golden Core realm 2 years ago? Could it be that in these 2 years, his Golden Core has matured and developed divine power, allowing him to advance to the divine power realm and become an invincible almighty? Waves of shocked voices rose and fell one after another. At this moment, many people were shocked by the divine power that Xing Hui had displayed. Impossible. 2 years, only 2 years. How could you have developed divine power? It's fake. It's fake. You must have exploded your golden core and supplemented it with a secret technique to create an effect similar to divine power. You definitely can't sustain such an attack. Let me personally tear off that pretentious face of yours. Su Ming roared in disbelief. Her silhouette soared into the air as a resplendent sword light soared into the sky. This was the brilliance of a 12th-rank divine weapon. At the same time, an illusory image of a golden rock appeared. However, Xing Hui seemed to turn a blind eye to the momentum that she had erupted with. The dragon abyss sword slashed down, and immediately, it was as if a vast and mighty sun golden wheel was rolling and crushing. Su Ran's level 12 divine weapon and golden rock image that had erupted with all her might could not resist this blazing sword chi at all and were directly smashed into pieces. Ah! Su Ran let out a roar of anger and pain, trying in vain to counterattack. Unfortunately, it was useless. The difference between her and Qing Su was like the difference between a regular golden core cultivator and a great figure who had cultivated abilities. It was so great that it was incalculable. After the vast and mighty sword chi destroyed her attack, its momentum did not diminish. It directly tore through her golden rock battle body and then exploded in front of her. In an instant, dozens of fine sword chi pierced through her body, turning her into a bloody person. Xing Hui considered that Su Ran was Sword Venerable Hidden Sword's personal disciple, so he did not kill her. Otherwise, Su Ran might not even be able to keep her life after this strike. One strike. Su Ran was severely injured and did not even have the ability to stand still. She fell from the sky. After this strike, Xing Hui's gaze turned and landed on Su Kong. Su Kong's eyes narrowed when he saw Su Ran's fate. He turned around and was about to escape on his sword. Clang! The sword whistled in the sky. A sword light that was not any weaker than the previous one swept down with a vast and mighty aura. Under the pressure of life and death, Su Kong had no choice but to roar. The power of his battle body was pushed to the extreme, and an unprecedented vast and mighty power surged in his golden core, causing his battle body to overflow with golden light. It was very beautiful, it was beautiful. It was the kind of good-looking but useless. Su Kong's full-powered strike with his golden core had pushed the might of his constitution to the limit, making him seem like a mighty and invincible god of war. However, before the vast and resplendent streak of light from Qing Su, he was like a resplendent bubble that would burst with a single poke. Rumble. The mighty roar, mixed with the sound of Su Kong's battle physique collapsing, spread out in all directions. The power of Su Kong's constitution that he had unleashed to the limit was directly pulverized by Qing Su's brilliant sword light. After shattering his body, the streak of sword light descended like how it dealt with Su Ran. At the same time, it shattered all of his defenses and turned into countless tiny streaks of sword light that pierced through his body. The double blow to his body and soul instantly exceeded the limits of what Su Kong's nerves could bear, causing him to pass out on the spot. The Golden Core experts of the Hidden Sword sect had been peaceful for a long time. Their minds and tenacity were far from comparable to those Golden Core experts who had gone through countless trials and tribulations, even though, those Golden Core experts who wandered on the edge of life and death all year round would still only die when they encountered a true transcendent expert. However, at least they would not be as helpless as Su Kong. No matter what, they would still be able to last a breath or two in front of a transcendent expert. Stop! With another sword strike that heavily injured Su Kong, Xing Hui's gaze swept across the Golden Core experts who were filled with fear and terror. If anyone dares to resist, I will no longer show mercy and will kill without mercy. Those Golden Core experts had long been scared out of their wits by Xing Hui's almighty methods. When they heard Xing Hui shout, none of them dared to resist at all. They instantly withdrew their battle bodies and trembled in fear, not daring to make any rash movements. Their eyes were filled with terror as they looked at Tsing Hui. Su Tong, Si Tongjian, Jin Yin, the few of you, go and seal their cultivation. Tsing Hui ordered Su Tong and the others. Yes. The several people who received the order hurriedly leaped forward, arriving in front of the dozens of golden core experts, and sealed their true yuan one by one. The battle body was based on the consciousness and condensed from true yuan. Once the true yuan in the body was sealed, only the consciousness was left, and the so-called battle body was just an empty shell. However, just as Su Tong was about to seal a golden core stage elder of the Mingjian Peak, the golden core stage elder suddenly moved, and in an instant caught Su Tong in his hand. At the same time, he shouted at Tsing Hui, Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, let me go. I will leave the hidden sword continent and go to Heaven Wasteland. From now on, I will never set foot in the hidden sword continent again. It's Xueyu of the Mingjian Peak. Over the past few decades, Xueyu has relied on his identity as an elder of the Mingjian Peak to commit countless atrocities. He has persecuted his fellow disciples and infringed upon the interests of the sect. His crimes are unforgivable. Xueyu's crimes are unforgivable and unforgivable. His crimes are innumerable. It is said that more than 10 years ago, there was a female disciple from the inner sect who caught his eye and wanted to take her as his concubine. However, that disciple was engaged to another disciple. Naturally, she was unwilling and was persecuted to death by him. That disciple's fiancé wanted to seek justice for his fiancée and was persecuted to death by him. This kind of person must be killed to appease the anger of the people. All kinds of discussions continued to ring out from the crowd, and soon the crimes of this elder were revealed one by one. Once the crimes he committed were investigated, the lightest punishment would be crippling his cultivation and expelling him from the sect. If it was a heavy punishment, he would even be directly executed. No wonder he didn't hesitate to take risks and hold Su Tong hostage in a futile attempt to escape. It seems that you have chosen to be stubborn to the end. Tsing Hui's gaze fell on Elder Xueyu, and his eyes were ice cold. Grand Elder Tsing Hui, I have no enmity with you. Why do you have to kill me? I know this person. She is President Su Zhao's personal guard and has a high status in the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. You are someone invited by the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. You can't watch an important person of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce perish together with me, right? It's not worth it. If Grand Elder Tsing Hui is willing to let me go, I promise that I will not offend her in the slightest, and I will never set foot in the hidden sword continent again. Xueyu held Su Tong hostage, but in front of an almighty, his eyes were still filled with fear. As he spoke, he kept retreating. Grand Elder Tsing Hui, nothing can be accomplished without rules. Don't worry about me. Since he has committed a heinous crime, he must be severely punished. Su Tong, who was being held hostage, quickly shouted. Shut up. Xueyu roared angrily as his true qi surged and entered Su Tong's body. Su Tong's face immediately turned pale, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. She was obviously injured. Aunt Tong, seeing this scene, Su Xiao could not help but exclaim. When the other Golden Core Realm elders who had been captured saw this scene, their thoughts were all stirred, and their gazes were constantly sizing up Su Xiao. If it was a hostage, who was more suitable than Su Xiao? In any case, they were all Golden Core Realm experts. After leaving the Hidden Sword sect, they could live well anywhere. Why would they be trapped in the Hidden Sword continent? You're courting death. Just as those elders who had committed similar crimes were about to make a move, Tsing Hui's voice rang out, penetrating the void. Clang! In the next moment, the treasured sword hummed. Under the shocked gazes of many Golden Core Realm experts, Tsing Hui actually drew his sword and slashed out. This resolute attitude of completely disregarding Su Tong's life and death and still wanting to kill Elder Xueyu made the hearts of those restless elders sink rapidly. Grand Elder Tsing Hui, as Su Xiao screamed in panic, Xing Hui's sword-light directly pierced through the void and pierced through Shui Yu's head at an unbelievable speed, beheading him on the spot. Unless one could raise the recovery ability to the 10th level and undergo a second mutation, decapitating someone with a single sword strike would definitely result in death for any Golden Core realm expert. What was unbelievable was that Shui Yu seemed to be stunned on the spot throughout the entire process. It was as if he did not see Xing Hui draw his sword at all. He actually just watched as Xing Hui killed him with a single strike and died on the spot. Whoosh! Su Tong's figure flew, and in the blink of an eye, she distanced herself from Elder Shui Yu. However, at this time, everyone's gaze did not pay attention to Su Tong. Instead, they all looked at Elder Shui Yu's headless corpse that fell to the ground, and a chill suddenly surged in their hearts. Strange. This strange method of killing instantly shocked all the restless elders into silence. They all looked at Xing Hui with uncontrollable horror in their eyes. Almighty! Almighty! He regarded the Golden Core realm as nothing. This was the method of an almighty. There's motivation to write, but this is the automatic update set in the morning. I reckon I can accumulate another 1 or 2 chapters today. The motivation to write tomorrow is another problem. Please solve it. Chapter 520. Looks like no one is going to resist anymore. Xing Hui scanned the Golden Core realm experts one by one. Every time his gaze landed on someone, the Golden Core realm experts couldn't help but shiver. They lowered their heads and wished they could hide their heads in their necks. No one dared to look at Xing Hui. Even Hidden Sword's disciple, Zhongshuan, was no exception. Xing Hui didn't need to repeat his instructions. Su Tong, Si Tongzhen, and the others quickly went forward and subdued all the Golden Core realm, Endless realm, and Transcendent realm experts. The reason why Su Tong had been captured alive by Elder Shui Yu earlier was because she had been too careless. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for a Golden Core expert to capture her so easily. Now, they had all become cautious. Even if the Golden Core experts had the same thoughts as Shui Yu and wanted to capture them as hostages, it would no longer be easy. Moreover, after witnessing how Qing Su had killed Shui Yu without any hesitation at all, none of the Golden Core experts had the courage to resist. Severe punishment or death. Between the two, anyone could make the right choice. Whoosh! Almost at the same time when Su Tong and the others subdued all the experts present, dozens of sword radiances whizzed through the void. The leader was Hidden Sword Peak's peak master, Xiao Luying. Seeing that the battle had ended, Xiao Luying was slightly shocked. Especially when he saw that Su Ran, Su Kong, and Zhongshuan were all captured alive, his shock turned into shock. What happened? Xiao Luying asked in surprise. A true energy realm expert who had been watching the show earlier hurriedly said, "It's the Great Elder of Qing Su." The Great Elder of Qing Su intimidated all of them and captured them alive. Grand Elder Xing Hui. Xiao Luying's gaze immediately fell on Xing Hui with a trace of disbelief in his eyes. Xing Hui, wasn't he only in the Golden Core realm 2 years ago? How could he possibly subdue the dozens of Golden Core, never-ending, transformative, and true energy cultivators present? With a glance, more than half of the people present were unscathed, and had been captured without even lifting a finger. Clearly, Xing Hui's strength had already reached the point where they understood that resistance was futile. Didn't that mean, Xiao Suiying's pupils shrank? Almighty. Supreme Elder Xing Hui was an almighty. The true energy realm warrior's next words confirmed Xiao Luying's guess. Once Martial Uncle Su Ming and the others arrived, they ordered the 9 Golden Core realm warriors to attack Grand Elder Xing Hui at the same time. However, Grand Elder Xing Hui's true cultivation isn't just Golden Core realm like we thought. He's an almighty. When he said that, the true energy expert secretly glanced in Qing Su's direction. There was a sliver of reverence in his eyes, but even more reverence, great figure. Supreme Elder Tsing Hui is an almighty. No wonder the Hidden Sword Grandmaster was so assured to hand over the Hidden Sword sect to him. No wonder the Hidden Sword Grandmaster appointed him as the second Grand Elder of the Hidden Sword sect. An almighty being is completely qualified to be our Grand Elder. Almighty. Although Xiao Luiying had already guessed this based on the scene in front of him, he still couldn't help but gasp when he heard the true energy boundary expert confirm it with his own ears. At this moment, his heart was filled with relief. He rejoiced that he had chosen the right side at the crucial moment, choosing the right side and not becoming enemies with this great elder, Qing Su. Otherwise, looking at the many peak masters and elders who had their true energy restrained and were hanging their heads in dejection. If he had really chosen to listen to Senior Uncle Su Ming's persuasion and join the camp against Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, then Xiao Luiying would definitely be one of the people who would be captured alive and awaiting punishment. No wonder. No wonder the cultivators of the Hidden Sword Peak who were originally watching from the sidelines suddenly joined the battle and defeated the Golden Core experts who were keeping us busy. No wonder those Golden Core experts suddenly lost all will to fight and fled. Clearly, they've all received news of this battlefield and learned that the great elder of the Qing Su ruins is a great figure. A great figure is enough to suppress the entire Hidden Sword sect, or even the entire Hidden Sword continent. Xiao Luiying muttered to himself. Greetings, Supreme Elder. Hidden Sword Peaks Fei, greets Supreme Elder Tsing Hui. At this moment, those Hidden Sword Peak cultivators who were originally watching on the sidelines but later joined the battle hurriedly bowed to Tsing Hui and couldn't wait to show their loyalty. Qing Su glanced past them. He could tell with a single glance that they were not on the same side as Xiao Luiying, so he nodded indifferently, all right, lock them all up first and investigate their crimes one by one. We'll punish them after we've confirmed their crimes. Zhong Xian, who was captured alive, heard Tsing Hui's words and shouted fiercely, Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, you can't do this to me. You were able to cultivate the god power because my master gave you all the resources he collected. You owe my master a lot, and I'm his personal disciple. You can't do this to me, or else you'll be ungrateful. Ungrateful? Who's the ungrateful one here? Hidden Sword Sect Supreme trusted you to take care of the Hidden Sword Sect, but how did you manage the Hidden Sword Sect all these years? How did you repay Hidden Sword Sect Supreme? Don't worry, I'll investigate everything you've done all these years and hand it over to Hidden Sword Sect Supreme. When the time comes, Hidden Sword Sect Supreme will deal with you personally. With that, Qing Su waved his hand at Su Tong and the others. Immediately, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's people swarmed up and took them all away. Sect Master Xiao. Supreme Elder. Xiao Luiying looked at Tsing Hui with guilt in his eyes. I didn't expect to disturb Supreme Elder Tsing Hui in the end. It's my fault that Supreme Elder has to deal with this personally. What about the people in this so-called alliance? We captured some of them alive, but most of them ran away. Xiao Luiying paused. Xiao Luiying paused slightly when he reached there. These people who have allied with Su Ran and Zhongshuan are all people who have greatly harmed the interests of our Hidden Sword sect. They can't afford to be investigated at all. That's exactly why they've chosen to take the risk and stand against the great elder of Qing Su Ran and Zhongshuan under the orders of Senior Uncle Su Ran and Senior Uncle Xian Zhong. However, none of them are weak. If they really come across any danger, they can just leave directly. With their cultivation at Endless or even Golden Core, they can still live peacefully even if they leave the Hidden Sword continent. Then list them as traitors of the Hidden Sword sect and issue an arrest warrant for them. From now on, if anyone from the Hidden Sword sect sees them, kill them immediately. I understand. I'll gather their information and send it to everyone. Although you haven't achieved anything as the sect master of the Hidden Sword sect, but now, the Hidden Sword sect is in need of people. You still have to stay in the position for a while. At the same time, I'll give you the right to nominate a new sect master. Recommend a few people that you think are suitable and I'll investigate them one by one. Xiao Feiying was already mentally prepared for the fact that he could no longer be the sect master of the Hidden Sword sect. Even though his expression was rather gloomy, it was mostly relief, the new sect master. Not only does the sect master of the Hidden Sword sect need to be capable, he also needs to be powerful. The force behind him can't be too weak either, or even with the support of the great elder of the Qing Su ruins, it'll be extremely difficult for him to carry out some of his orders in the sect. Finally, after all these considerations, the most suitable person to take over the position of sect master is the Lord of the Iron Jade Peak, Zhou Cunyu. He hasn't been working with the senior uncles all these years, and before Xiao Luiying could introduce Zhou Cunyu's contributions and achievements in the past few decades, Xing Hui shook his head. Zhou Cunyu won't do. Find someone else. Investigate this matter properly before you tell me. There's no need to rush. Yes. Xiao Luiying didn't know why Xing Hui rejected Zhou Cunyu immediately, but he still nodded. The Hidden Sword Peak belonged to the sect master's faction. Their influence was much stronger than the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. With the cooperation of the Hidden Sword Peak, the internal strife caused by Su Ran and Zhong Xian, the two direct disciples of the Hidden Sword Venerable, had been quelled. It had to be quelled. When everyone found out that Supreme Elder Xing Hui, who was appointed by Hidden Sword Supreme, was actually a powerful being who cultivated a god art, they instantly lost their will to resist. The difference between a powerful being and a golden core cultivator was known to the world. Even if those top gold core experts were able to escape from the hands of an almighty being, they would be able to brag about it for a few years. The fame of that gold core expert would also be able to spread throughout the world and be known by the world. If those top golden core cultivators were like this, then ordinary golden core cultivators like them and those who were even weaker than golden core cultivators wouldn't be able to do anything. Under such circumstances, the following matters progressed surprisingly smoothly. One by one, the mountains quickly confessed their mistakes. Those mountains that had infringed upon the interests of the sect also tried to find ways to fill the hole that they had dug with their own hands. In a moment, the atmosphere of the entire Hidden Sword sect became clear. Not just the Hidden Sword sect. The entire Hidden Sword continent was like this. After finding out that Hidden Sword Supreme had entrusted a powerful being to guard the Hidden Sword continent, those large and small chaos organizations that had interfered with the Hidden Sword continent's affairs all disappeared without a trace and quickly withdrew from the Hidden Sword continent. After all, no one could easily go against a powerful being. Even if they sent down their clones that carried the god art seeds, it was no exception. Without the support of these chaotic organizations, those small and medium-sized sects naturally did not dare to go against the Hidden Sword sect. One after another, they sent their envoys to present generous gifts and returned the resource points that they had seized from the Hidden Sword sect intact. They were afraid that the Hidden Sword sect would take action to deal with them after they had finished reorganizing the internal affairs of their sects, bringing disaster to their sections. The entire Hidden Sword continent could be said to have calmed down under the pressure of Xing Hui alone. Such a change allowed Xing Hui to experience the influence of a powerful being in the divine wilderness. Chapter 521. Almighty. Xing Hui himself was not an almighty, but at this moment, the great influence brought about by an almighty made him feel the weight of these three words. It should be known that the entire Hidden Sword continent had close to 100 experts in the Golden Core realm. As for those below the Golden Core realm, there were thousands of them in the Never-Ending Realm, Transformative Realm, and True Energy Realm. In addition, there were countless experts in the prominent Divine Realm who could become Supreme Elders in the 9 great sacred sects in the Eastern Wilderness. If a war really broke out between the Hidden Sword continent and the Eastern Wilderness, it would be very difficult for the Eastern Wilderness to withstand the attacks of the Hidden Sword continent for even a day. However, such a powerful continent had been mistaken for an almighty simply because he had displayed battle prowess that was not inferior to an almighty. The many conflicts and hidden dangers that existed in the continent had been resolved so easily. A few, or even a dozen, forces that were supported by medium-sized and large-scale chaos organizations had quietly retreated, not daring to meet him again. As for the peak lords and great elders of the sect, they had either fled in fright and fled from the hidden sword continent, or they had voluntarily come to the courtyard of Qing Su to admit their mistakes and beg for forgiveness. There was not a single person who was truly bold enough to resist this kind of influence. He had crossed a realm and separated the fourth and fifth saint realm, forming a huge gap between them. However, thinking about the number of almighties in this world and the difficulty of advancing from the golden core realm to the transcendent realm, Xing Hui could vaguely understand. He had a strong foundation, and once he formed the golden core, it would be a superior grade golden core. However, in order to cultivate a superior grade golden core, he had to spend a huge amount of resources. As for cultivating a superior grade golden core, the amount of resources required to cultivate a peerless golden core was uncountable. Even though he was a rank 51 son of chaos, it would take him a few decades to accumulate such a huge amount of Daoist aura. However, this amount of resources was only enough for him to cultivate a supreme grade golden core. In fact, this golden core only reached the perfected realm after fusing with the Torch Dragon bloodline. As for breaking through to the sovereign golden core and cultivating the sovereign golden core to the perfected realm, God knew how much resources he would have to spend. Just thinking about it for a moment made Qing Su feel like he could only shrink back. If not for the fact that he was unwilling to give up, he would have wanted to take advantage of the perfect golden core to derive a divine ability. Anyway, with his current peerless golden core level, he would definitely be able to derive a divine ability. There was even a high probability of him deriving a great divine ability. With such a foundation, even heaven's 10 great prodigies could not be compared to him. After all, most of the 10 prodigies of the heavenly way had high-grade golden cores. There were even cultivators who had condensed regular golden cores. It was only because they were young and possessed impressive talent that they were listed as the 10 prodigies. Cultivators like Qing Su, who had a supreme grade golden core complete, were completely capable of crushing the 10 prodigies of the heavenly way. It turns out that the current me can already be considered a true top-notch expert. Qing Su muttered to himself in the courtyard of the Divine Grace Merchant Guild as he watched the hidden sword continent rise. The first chaos organization he had joined was Heaven's Vault, and Heaven's Vault was one of the top forces in the entire Divine Wilderness world. In terms of overall battle strength, it was slightly better than the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 schools, and 9 gates. After joining such a force, he had caught the eye of Master Tsang Zhen and was almost taken in as a disciple by Master Zhu Zhao. He even had some friendship with Master Tsang Zhen, and all the people he came into contact with were all top invincible figures. Naturally, he did not have much pride in his strength. But now that he thought about it, Master Zhu Zhao and Master Tsang Zhen, what kind of existences were they? They were invincible giants of the divine realm. Every top faction only had 2 or 3, or even 1 or 2 existences. Any one of them could establish a huge faction on the level of the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, 9 gates, or even the 10 great chaos organizations. They were the pioneers and pioneers of the divine wilderness world's cultivation world. As for Master Tsang Zhen, he was also an extremely ancient existence. Although he had not stepped into the divine realm, he was probably one of the top figures in the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. Because he came into contact with such a high level, he was in a trance and did not know that he had reached the top level. If one were to compare it to the official system of the Hua nation on earth, the Almighties could be compared to the existence of high-ranking officials. They were like the existence of provincial high-ranking officials and were out-and-out great officials of the border. And compared to Earth, how many times was the entire divine wilderness world? In other words, even if their positions were the same, the power and influence of Almighties were countless times greater than the high-ranking officials of Hua nation on Earth. It was no wonder that Venerable Hidden Sword could sit on the entire Hidden Sword continent and accumulate so much wealth when he was just an Almighty. According to the rules, an Almighty can treat the continent he came from as his private territory. Although the Eastern Wilderness's Daoist rhyme production cannot be compared to Hidden Sword, it is still one of the medium-sized continents with higher production. In a year, the total production is estimated to be about 150 Daoist rhymes. Xing Hui thought to himself as he measured his current strength. It was time to go back and completely end the situation of the 9 saint clans in the Eastern Wilderness. He even had to meet with the Sword Shadow's higher-ups who meddled in this continent and have a good chat with them so that they would voluntarily withdraw from the Eastern Wilderness. From now on, the Eastern Wilderness would only belong to him. It just so happens that Tan Tai Yin told me that there's a cross-sea merchant association called Oven in the Eastern Wilderness. I'll go to the Eastern Wilderness and solve these 2 problems once and for all. Xing Hui summoned Su Xiao as he spoke. Grand Supreme Elder. After witnessing Xing Hui's terrifying almighty combat strength with her own eyes, Su Xiao did not dare to be as casual in front of Xing Hui as before. She bowed respectfully. Yes, I have to leave the Hidden Sword continent for a while. However, it won't take too long, probably a month or 2. Although there are many trivial matters in the Hidden Sword continent during this period, Xiao Luiying should be able to handle them properly. If there is something that can't be handled, I can just stay here temporarily and deal with it when I return to the Hidden Sword continent. Leave the Hidden Sword continent? A month or 2. Su Xiao was slightly stunned and could not understand. How could he leave the Hidden Sword continent in a month or 2? You can't imagine the means of a high-level son of chaos. Anyway, it's good that you understand. If there is anything urgent, let Su Yuan contact me and I will return immediately. Yes. When Su Xiao heard this, it was not good to refuse, so she could only agree. That's all for now. You may leave. Grand Supreme Elder, should we tell the sect leader about this and let him send some people to follow Grand Supreme Elder to deal with some trivial matters? Yes. Xing Hui pondered for a while. Considering that he was going to the Eastern Wilderness to unify it, he finally nodded. Then let Xiao Luiying come over. At the same time, bring a few Golden Core Realm cultivators and a dozen Eternal Realm cultivators. Unifying the Eastern Wilderness was one aspect of this force, and another aspect was related to the Oven Chamber of Commerce. These chambers of commerce were different from the Eastern Wilderness. Many chambers of commerce were actually bandits in the guise of chambers of commerce. If they sensed that the continent was weak and did not have any terrifying backing, their transactions would immediately turn into plunder. This was not the first time such a thing had happened in the various continents of the Divine Wilderness. After Su Xiao passed the news to Xiao Luiying brought 4 Golden Core Realm cultivators, 10 Eternal Realm cultivators, and 30 Transcendent Realm and True Energy Realm cultivators over. After knowing that they were here to help Grand Supreme Elder Xing Hui, these Golden Core Realm, Eternal Realm, Transcendent Realm, and True Energy Realm cultivators were all very enthusiastic. Especially those who did not participate when Xiao Luiying was dealing with Su Ran and the others. They urgently needed to use this battle to prove their loyalty to the Hidden Sword sect and prevent Xing Hui from investigating them. After all, Xiao Luiying did not care about the sect for the past few decades and Hidden Sword Venerable was suspected to have passed away. The entire Hidden Sword sect was in chaos. Under such circumstances, other than ambitious people like Zhou Cunyu, there was almost no one who was truly innocent. The Hidden Sword Peak was no exception. Great Elder Qing Su, may I ask if this is enough? If it's not enough, I'll call for more people immediately. Xiao Luiying bowed respectfully to Xing Hui. Yes. Xing Hui's gaze swept across the Hidden Sword Peak elders one by one. I brought you this time because there are some small matters that I need you to take care of when the time comes. There won't be any terrifying enemies, but in the meantime, I need to put you all into my personal space. Personal space. Xiao Luiying and the others all had different levels of Chaotic Realm cultivators and had heard of the various characteristics of Chaotic Realm cultivators. Now that they heard Xing Hui wanted to put them into his personal space, they suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but be shocked. Holding living people. Grand Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, that's a level 10 personal space. That's right. Tsing Hui nodded and looked at the hidden sword peak elders. He waved his hand and layers of ripples spread out. Alright, you all can enter. Seeing that Tsing Hui's personal space could really hold living things, the elders were shocked and curious at the same time. They stepped into Tsing Hui's personal space with curiosity. In the Chaos Shrine, they had entered other people's personal spaces before, but this was the first time they had entered someone else's personal space with their real body. Headmaster Xiao, this time I'm going, I should be back in a month or two. I hope that by the time I return to Hidden Sword Continent, the problems on Hidden Sword Continent will have been cleaned up and everything will be fine again. Xiao Luiying said seriously. Don't worry Grand Supreme Elder Tsing Hui, I've been the Hidden Sword Sect headmaster for over 100 years. It's time for me to do something for the sect to atone for my sins. Otherwise, how can I be worthy of the resources that I've squandered for over 100 years? Then I'll wait and see. With that, Qing Su stopped talking to Xiao Luiying. He directly used the avatar technique to sense the body of the person in the wondrous mountains. Afterwards, he used the avatar technique, and with the ability of his personal space to store living things, he vanished from Su Xiao and Xiao Luiying's vision before long. Chapter 522. The Furnace Chamber of Commerce. It was a first-class chamber of commerce from the large continent, the meteorite iron continent. It was rumored that it was supported by the top forces of the continent. Every continent that could be called a large continent had at least 10 powerful beings. Some of the continents even had hidden invincible beings who were stronger than the powerful beings. For example, the headquarters of Sword Shadow, one of the top 10 organizations of chaos, were located on several large continents. Although no one knew which continent their real headquarters were located on, the power they possessed in the continents they occupied was enough to make any top sect of Heaven Wasteland take notice of them. Some of the top forces that could dominate a large continent were so powerful that they could contend with the forces of the One Hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates. The meteorite iron continent was not one of the top large continents and could not be compared to the top forces of the infinite wasteland domain. However, there were still more than 10 powerful beings on the continent. Due to a meteorite that fell from the sky, the mineral resources on the continent mutated and produced many top ores that could be used to forge divine weapons. This made the continent full of powerful experts and sections. With the secret support of the top sects and the chaos organizations, the situation on the continent was no less complicated than that of the Eastern Wasteland domain. However, compared to the Eastern Wasteland domain, the overall level of the meteorite iron continent was undoubtedly much higher. At this moment, in the control room of the Furnace Chamber of Commerce's battleship called Iron Eagle, Captain Wei Xian, Elder Bailey Fidi, Senior Deacon Gaia, Yu Dong, and Yu Feng were gathered together to discuss a plan to deal with the Eastern Wasteland domain. Elder Bailey, Captain, we found out that there are not many Dao-carrying items left in the Eastern Wasteland domain. 2 years ago, a man named Tsing Hui used the power of his divine battle body to sweep across the continent. He forced many sects on the continent to hand over all the Dao-carrying auras they had accumulated over the years to him. Therefore, we rushed to the Eastern Wasteland domain as soon as we could to make a fortune on this continent. Gaia's voice carried a hint of anger and reluctance. No more Dao-carrying auras. We came here from the meteorite iron continent as fast as we could and offered a 6th-level divine weapon for 1 Dao-carrying aura, which is already beyond the previous average price. We wanted to make a fortune on the Eastern Wasteland domain, but you're telling me that there are no more Dao-carrying auras on the Eastern Wasteland domain? Bailey Fidi's face was filled with anger. Elder, please calm down. Although the Eastern Wilderness doesn't have enough Daoist items to trade, it's not necessarily true that there isn't any Daoist rhyme left in this continent. At this time, another senior manager, Yu Dongyi, pointed out. If you have something to say, say it. Yes. In fact, the reason why we haven't been able to get enough Dao-carrying items is because there aren't many of them left in the eastern wilderness. On the other hand, it's because of the existence of a special power called Qinlan Peak. This power was created by the transformative state cultivator who swept across the eastern wilderness 2 years ago. Its existence has intimidated the other sects in the eastern wilderness and made them afraid to trade with us. On the other hand, from time to time, they would release some precious materials from this mountain. These materials are expensive and are treasures that cultivators urgently need. Although the prices are not as high as what we are offering, they are not cheap either. If they trade with us, they won't profit much and will offend Qinlan Peak. Under such circumstances, no one would take the risk. Yu Dongyi said. There's another problem, and that's where we are docked. Yu Feng added, the place where we are docked is overseas. The foreign merchants will not enter the mainland, and will not have any conflicts with the mainland forces. This is an unspoken rule that everyone has tacitly agreed upon. This is to avoid causing hostility and rejection from the other forces in the mainland, which would make the following business difficult. But the problem is that the large forces in the eastern wilderness who have the qualifications to trade with us have been plundered by most of their Daoist treasures. The remaining small and medium-sized forces do not dare to step overseas to trade with us at all. Therefore, overseas is the place where the mysterious transformative state expert who opened up Qinlan Peak made his fortune. This place can be said to be his private territory, and it is impregnable under his management. Anyone who goes overseas to trade with us will be hated by these overseas forces. When the time comes, once we leave, they will choose to settle the score. Those small and medium-sized forces will definitely be severely punished. Bailey Feedy heard this and vaguely understood something. Her right hand unconsciously knocked on the table. So, the biggest problem with our Iron Eagle deal is this force called Qinlan Peak? Is it because of their obstruction that we have to return empty-handed on this trip? That's right. Otherwise, after 2 years, my vitality has recovered a little. Let's not talk about how much there is in the eastern wasteland, but at least 100 or 200 Daoist rhymes can be obtained. Gaia said honestly. Then, what are you waiting for? It's just a small medium-sized continent where the strongest cultivator is only at the eternal realm. Do you still need me to teach you how to do things? Whoever dares to stop us from doing business, we'll crush them. But my lord, there's a mysterious cultivator behind Qinlan Peak. I suspect that he's the disciple of Master Zhu Zhao, I'm afraid, the disciple of the Sky Dome Realm's almighty Zhu Zhao. Bailey Feedy was slightly taken aback and quickly frowned. After a while, her eyebrows relaxed again. Master Zhu Zhao has been targeted by the heavenly Tao recently and can't even protect himself. Master Zhu Zhao has no time to deal with these trivial matters. Besides, we're not going to do it ourselves. The people from the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce are all businessmen with clean backgrounds. The ones who robbed Qinlan Peak are just pirates. Pirates, do you understand? Gaia and the rest immediately understood and smiled. We understand. We'll do it now. You don't have to go. Just as Gaia and the rest were about to leave and gather their forces to disguise as pirates to rob Qinlan Peak and even uproot this power, a voice came directly from the outside of the large warship. Who's there? Bailey Feedy's face changed when she heard this voice. She immediately rushed out of the control room, followed by the rest of the deacons and captains. When they reached the deck, they heard someone shouting as if they were facing a great enemy. In front of them, led by Tsing Hui, for Golden Core stage cultivators, dozens of never-ending stage and transcendent stage cultivators slowly descended from the sky and landed on the deck. Bailey Feedy's expression turned serious when she saw that there were 4 golden elixir stage cultivators in this group. She looked at them warily and asked, "May I know who you are and why are you trespassing on my Great Furnace Merchant Guild's battleship? You're all discussing how to uproot my power on this continent, but you don't know who I am." Tsing Hui stared coldly at Bailey Feedy. Bailey Feedy's cultivation level was the highest among them, at the Golden Core stage. She was also the elder of the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce. Naturally, she was the leader of the group. Uproot your power on this continent. You. You're Tsing Hui, one of the founders of Qinglan Peak. The transcendent stage cultivator who swept through the eastern wilderness and took all the treasures of the eastern wilderness. Bailey Feedy suddenly thought of something. She glanced at the golden core stage cultivators, never-ending stage and transcendent stage cultivators that Tsing Hui brought with him. She forced a smile on her face. It was a misunderstanding. We were just talking nonsense. Please don't take it to heart, Mr. Tsing Hui. Is that so? I only believe what I hear. Since the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce intends to uproot Qinglan Peak, then don't blame us for striking first. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he waved his hand at the 4 golden core stage cultivators and dozens of never-ending stage and transcendent stage cultivators behind him. Wait. Bailey Feedy hurriedly shouted. Peace breeds wealth, peace breeds wealth. Mr. Tsing Hui, let's talk nicely. There's no need to resort to violence. The Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce was in the wrong first. Fortunately, we haven't committed any grave mistakes. If there's anything we shouldn't do, we're willing to compensate. There's no need for that. After I'm done with you, all the treasures on you will naturally belong to me. As Tsing Hui spoke, he glanced at the crowd behind him from the corner of his eye. What are you waiting for? Yes, Elder. The Golden Core Stage, Never-Ending Stage, and Transcendent Stage cultivators immediately rushed forward. Without any hesitation, they chose their opponents and charged towards the Never-Ending Stage and Transcendent Stage cultivators. In an instant, the battle forms manifested one after another. A mighty aura filled the entire area, stirring up the yuan qi of heaven and earth in a radius of 100 kilometers. Even the surface of the sea was stirred up by this surge of yuan qi. The waves grew more and more intense until it became a tsunami. Bastard! Tsing Hui, are you really going to kill us all? Our Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce is backed by one of the 8 giants of the meteorite continent, the Divine Smelting Sect. Moreover, the meteorite continent is only 10 million kilometers away from your East Baron. If you destroy one of our caravans here, we won't let this matter rest. Don't think that Tianxiong can protect you. Tianxiong is like a clay Buddha crossing a river. He can't even protect himself. At this critical moment, he won't offend the Divine Smelting Sect for you. I'd like to know if the Divine Smelting Sect will offend us for the sake of a fleet of your Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce. As soon as Tsing Hui finished speaking, the Golden Core Stage, Never-Ending Stage, and Transcendent Stage cultivators no longer hesitated. They quickly clashed with the experts of the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce. Although the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce had quite a number of experts, including a Golden Core Stage cultivator like Bailey Feedy, they were still inferior to the experts of the Hidden Sword sect that Xiao Feiying had specially selected. This was especially so for the Golden Core and Never-Ending Stage cultivators. Each of them was eager to show off in front of Tsing Hui. They attacked with all their might. In just a few moments, they had already suppressed the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce. It was only a matter of time before this caravan was completely destroyed. Wang. At this moment, a vast energy suddenly descended from the sky. Following that, the yuan qi of heaven and earth within a radius of 100 kilometers gathered crazily towards a single point in the center. Not long after, a powerful aura that was not inferior to that of a Golden Core Stage cultivator emanated from the condensed figure. Main Battle Avatar. A primary battle avatar at the Golden Core realm. Chapter 523. It's the Sage. It's the Shaoguang Sage. The Shaoguang Sage has responded to our call for help. He's here to save us. Bailey Feedy, Gaia, Wei Xian, and the others who had been in despair earlier could not help but cheer as they saw the figure that was condensing rapidly in the void. A golden elixir realm main combat avatar. Tsing Hui looked at the man's avatar that was gradually forming in front of him. The man's aura was comparable to that of the Black Sky Daoist master. He was surprised. Did the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce, or in other words, the Divine Refinement sect, really have nothing better to do? Not only did they send down a clone to deal with him, they even sent a Golden Core Realm main clone. Qing Su found this to be very illogical. In the void, the Golden Elixir Realm main combat avatar of the Shaoguang sage did not attack immediately. Instead, he was constantly sensing something. After a while, a smile appeared on his face. Is this the change brought about by the rank 5 avatar technique? Very good. I've tried my best to send a Golden Elixir Realm main combat avatar, and it only has less than a year of recovery time. As for the period of weakness, it's only 2 to 3 months. If I make a breakthrough in my cultivation and send a never-ending Realm main combat avatar, the period of weakness will definitely be shortened by more than half. Sage, save us. I'm Bailey Feedy, an elder of the Divine Smelting Sect. Please help us on account of the fact that we're from the same sect and eliminate these evildoers who don't respect the Divine Smelting Sect. Bailey Feedy looked at the Shaoguang sage, who seemed to be sensing something in the void. He did not seem to have any intention of striking out at all. She hurriedly cried out for help. In just a short while, several cultivators of the Great Furnace Trade Union had already been slain. Hearing Bailey Feedy's cry, the Shaoguang sage in the void finally looked at the two parties who were fighting below. I've sent my avatar here personally. How dare you not surrender? You're courting death. Since you're all so stubborn, I'll take your blood as the spoils of war for my first Golden Elixir Realm avatar. The Shaoguang sage's gaze swept across the crowd. When he found that there were only 4 Golden Elixir Realm cultivators, his expression turned cold. However, before he could attack the 4 Golden Elixir Realm cultivators, Tsing Hui's body flashed and stood in front of the Shaoguang sage. These people from the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce have the audacity to attack Qinglan Peak and intended to destroy it. If I hadn't arrived in time, Qinglan Peak. I'm afraid Qinglan Peak would have been destroyed. That's why they have to pay for what they've done today. They must pay for what they've done. If I hadn't arrived here in time, the peak would have been destroyed is for them to pay. Pay. For today, they must pay for what they. For them, they must pay for it today, is for today. For S. As soon as Tsing Hui finished speaking, the Shaoguang sage roared, a mere Golden Elixir Realm cultivator dares to spout nonsense in front of me. Who do you think you are? Since the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce wants to annihilate your so-called Qinglan Peak, they naturally have their reasons to do so. Instead of surrendering obediently, you actually dared to resist. Your crimes are unforgivable. Today, I shall use your blood. Clang! Before the Shaoguang sage could finish his words, Tsing Hui struck with his sword. The sword will exploded. The deep scarlet sword emitted a vast and cold pressure, like a blazing sun. The moment it formed the sword chi, it swept towards the Golden Core stage main battle avatar of the Shaoguang Holy Master with an unstoppable force. The sharp sword light made the Shaoguang Holy Master, who had been full of awe-inspiring momentum a second ago, scream in pain. Countless holes were torn in his avatar in an instant. Damn it! The Shaoguang sage was shocked and angry. He clearly sensed that Tsing Hui's aura should be in the Golden Elixir realm. However, he never expected that a single strike from Tsing Hui could form such a vast and brilliant sword light. The sword light was like a falling sun. The power it carried was not inferior to a divine ability blasted out by a divine ability expert. It shattered his Golden Elixir Realm avatar on the spot. How dare you injure my avatar? The Divine Refining Clan will not let this go. The Shaoguang sage roared angrily. He quickly escaped from the sword light that Xing Hui had slashed out. After he shouted angrily, he wanted to withdraw his avatar immediately to prevent it from dying here. I've said that I gave you a chance to leave. Then don't leave. Xing Hui took a step forward and used the supreme immortal technique reversal of yin and yang. For a moment, the nomological laws and vitality in the void were all stirred up. Even the avatar technique was seriously affected, let alone the aura lock. The Shaoguang sage, who wanted to withdraw his avatar immediately, froze in the void and was unable to do so. What kind of technique is this? This is not good. Stop. The Shaoguang sage's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly shouted. Unfortunately, Xing Hui was no longer in the mood to talk nonsense with him. In the next moment, the Scarlet Abyss sword slashed down again. This Golden Elixir Realm avatar, which was only slightly inferior to the Black Heaven Sect Master's avatar in terms of strength, was like a piece of tofu that was cut by countless wind blades. It was instantly crushed into powder by the sharp sword light formed by the second strike. It didn't even have time to scream before it collapsed on the spot. Sage. Bailey Feedy, who had placed high hopes on the Shaoguang sage's avatar, was stunned when she saw the Shaoguang sage's avatar being killed instantly. Not only her, but Wei Xin, Gaia, and the others who were still fighting back screamed in despair, divine power. Divine power. That's a divine power. This Xing Hui is an almighty. He's not a transcendent realm cultivator like the rumors say. He's a supreme almighty who has derived a divine power. Almighty. Bailey Feedy's face turned pale when she heard the desperate screams of Wei Xin, Gaia, and the others. I should have known. There are a large number of never-ending realm, transcendent realm, and true energy realm experts in the Eastern Wilderness. How could a mere transcendent realm expert with a divine-grade battle body sweep across the entire Eastern Wilderness and subdue all the other sacred sects? An almighty, or at least in the Golden Core realm. Only an expert in the Golden Core realm has the possibility of suppressing the Eastern Wasteland continent by himself. After that, he returned to the Heaven Wasteland continent, and under the guidance of the invincible giant in the Sky Vault, esteemed Zhu Zhao, he developed a divine ability and stepped into the realm of Almighty. This is the truth. This is the truth of the matter. It's funny that I actually believed that there really was an expert in the transcendent realm who could easily subdue the Eastern Wasteland continent. Xing Hui didn't care about Bailey Feedy's despair. Since he had already attacked, he didn't intend to stand by and watch. The deep red sword vibrated slightly. He was about to kill this divine refining sect elder on the spot. But right at this moment, Bailey Feedy shuddered and suddenly woke up. She hurriedly shouted, Lord Qing Su, please stay your hand. I beg Lord Xing Hui to spare me. I'm willing to use all the Dao-carrying items I've accumulated in my life to beg Lord Xing Hui to spare my life. Qing Su's gaze landed on Bailey Feedy. If I don't kill you directly, I only need to capture you alive, and I'll be able to force out everything in your personal space, including your chaotic method. Bailey Feedy's eyes turned cold. The next moment, she took advantage of the fact that Xing Hui hadn't attacked immediately to take out an elixir and swallow it without hesitation. I just swallowed a heart-severing pill. If I don't take the antidote in an hour, I will die from the poison. When Bailey Feedy said this, her eyes were filled with bitterness. Over the years, I've accumulated 34 Dao-carrying items. If Lord Xing Hui is willing to spare my life, I'm willing to give all the 34 Dao-carrying items to Lord. At this moment, Wei Xin, Gaia, and the others, who were in a precarious situation, also shouted, we are also willing to redeem our lives. We are also willing to use the Dao-carrying items to redeem our lives. Lord Xing Hui, according to the rules of the Divine Wilderness, if the enmity between two parties isn't so great that it will only end in death, the captured party has the right to take out their Dao-carrying items to redeem their lives. Although we have the intention to harm Elder Xing Hui's Qinglan Mountain, we have not taken any action. Strictly speaking, Lord Xinghui has not suffered any injuries. The enmity between us is far from being irreconcilable. We beg Lord Xinghui to give us a way out." Among them, Gaia, who was more agile, immediately stepped forward and took out a dozen Dao carrier items. "These are all the Dao carrier items I have on me. If I miss anything, I'm willing to be struck by lightning." Wei Xian, Yu Feng, and the others saw this and also offered up their Dao carrying items. Xinghui swept his gaze over these Dao carrying items one by one. As the upper echelons of the Great Furnace Chamber of Commerce who were in charge of trading across the sea, every single one of them possessed extraordinary wealth. Every single one of them had quite a few Daoist charms on them. When all of them were added together, they had a total of 114 Daoist charms. This number had truly exceeded Qing Su's expectations. It must be known that the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce had only accumulated about 200 Dao-carrying items over the countless years. The Dao-carrying items collected by these people were already close to half of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's total. If one were to add in the various scattered resources on the Iron Eagle ship, Xinghui looked at these people and thought about it. Bailey Feedy looked at Xinghui uneasily. His heart was filled with fear. After a while, he seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "That's right, Lord Xinghui. I still have a secret, a huge secret. If Lord Xinghui is willing to let me go, I am willing to tell this secret to Lord Xinghui." "Oh, tell me about it." "This information is related to our Divine Refinement sect's enemy, the Arcane Art sect. When I was following our Divine Refinement sect's Dark North Saint to attack a base of the Arcane Art sect, we discovered a huge secret of the Arcane Art sect. The Arcane Art sect actually found the refining method of the ancient Scarlet Sun cult's signature alchemy puppet, the Scarlet Sun demonic god. Moreover, they are already trying their best to collect the refining materials. Once the Arcane Art sect succeeds, they will be able to create a terrifying war puppet equivalent to the astronomical phenomenon of Earth. They will become the most powerful sect on the meteorite Iron Continent. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.